For the 20th century, every decade pretty much had an ism.
I need to brush up on my isms.
Hey, yo, what's ism? Get the money. Yeah, it's ism. Get the money.
Ideologies are always really kind of difficult because they're ideas, they're different ways of looking at the world, and they all end in ism, and isms are intimidating. So today, let me see if I can help you understand the isms.
Yeah. One time, I thought I told you, nigga. Niggas know a nigga about his isms.
Isms have done so much damage, but people still believe in them.
Talking shit, I might just have to get him. Bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism.
I hereby turn over to Ism Incorporated everything I have, including my freedom and the freedom of my children and my children's children, in return for which said ism promises to take care of me forever.
Isms nigga. Thought I told you I'ma have to get him, nigga. Oh, bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr.
Isms, in my opinion, are not good. A person should not believe in an ism. He should believe in himself.
And not be clouded with the great isms.
Bitch! What the fuck?
Now you about to fucking lose it. Woo. Niggas know a nigga about his isms. Talking shit, I might just have to get him. Bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism. Isms nigga. Thought I told you I'ma have to get him, nigga. Oh, bitch, I got that flow, I got that wisdom. Bitch, say no to me, I'm Mr. Ism.
I was like, if you don't get your ass off my channel.
What is going on? We about to bring that psychosocial lubrication back to your favorite YouTube station. What's up, Nate? What's up? We got Risa in the building. Risa Neal. Of course, man. You're welcome. Nova Rain in the building. What's up, Nova? Make sure to report the channel, please. By all means. Gang shit. Watching from the clouds. Man, appreciate you, man. Work alert. Good looking now. We got Bree is in the building, but she's getting some stuff set up, so she'll be up in a minute. She'll be up with us in a minute. So if the algorithm has you blue because it's starting to stink, come to Bree and Rashawn so we can start to think pink. We're gonna get the minerals in order real soon. So let's get a chat check. I mean, how y'all feeling? What's up with y'all? How's Wednesday? My so-called life is in the building. Hi, what's going on? How's y'all's day treating y'all? We got 5 days till the eclipse. What's up with y'all? How y'all feeling? Everything good? Good week? Egotistical and powerful. That's what's up. We're going to talk about you in a minute. Because you really look like a sheep. You don't look all that powerful. You look like a sheep. A follower. Shit. But Dr. D likes what he sees. So today, me and Bree wanted to get back to some isms with you all. I was missing my conversations with Bree, and someone on another channel said that they were missing some we. So here we be. And she will be here with us in a minute. Probably, quiet Bree 1, 2, 3. Be here real soon. So we're going to talk. There she is. So
damn.
There it is. What's up? Sorry. Welcome back. All right.
Hey.
So I want y'all to know that Bree is a liar, but it's okay.
I am a liar. I did that just to trigger you. Did it work?
Like 1.5% out of 10.
Okay, I'll take it. We take what we can get.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. So listen, let me check in with you.
Yeah.
How's your day going so far?
It was going fine until you hit live, and then everybody needs something.
Yeah, that's
in the house. You know how I go
all the time.
Is mom trying to do something? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah, it's like I have a background, but people be walking by. My husband be walking by
what's up?
kids. So cat, it's just y'all just gonna get these. What is this? I
The
don't even know.
material waves.
Yeah, I don't know what that is back there. Some
Nah,
trying
we
to
can
come
rock with
in.
it.
Some trying to come in. All right.
You giving the people more than I'm giving them. You know what I'm saying?
Right. I was like, somebody. I was like, maybe I should. We ain't did an ism show in like 50 years. Maybe somebody.
Yeah.
Should be.
Last ism show was 1962. So
Yeah.
it was right before we even got civil rights.
We inspired the civil rights movement. Y'all ain't know
exactly.
That. Yeah.
Absolutely. But y'all gonna learn today. So listen, I want you guys to know, and I want to quit getting these messages too. I keep getting these pop-ups. How can I stop this? Give me a second.
Stop going to the hub. We won't be getting all them pop-ups.
Speaking of the hub, I was talking to somebody and they did not know that Rachel Dolezal was doing OnlyFans.
That's crazy. I just can't even imagine paying money to see that woman. I'm sorry. That was crazy. I shouldn't have said that. I'm sorry.
They didn't know. I thought everybody knew.
Yeah, I found out
She got
recently. But
fired.
I just like wonder, like, I don't know. I have those thoughts sometimes. I just be like, when I see some people, oh, that's okay. Nope.
It felt like
I'm gonna do my, what was that play? Is it Socrates or Plato? We talking about Jordan Peterson kept talking about who got murdered for telling people no lie.
Socrates.
I'm having a Socrates moment. If the voice inside say don't say that, just don't say it. So I'm just gonna not say it.
Okay. Hey, listen, ain't nothing wrong with that. Know thyself. But we are going to talk about egoism today, guys, and its impact on society. And why? Because y'all mofos is going crazy. And I understand. I get it. It feels good. All that. Feeding the ego like Nova likes to do. Mm-hmm. But the perception of freedom in one area is leading you into bondage in another area. But I want to start with the definition of what egoism is. Egoism, now, is a doctrine that individual self-interest is the actual motive of all conscious action. So what you want is the motivator for everything that you do. And it's a doctrine that individual self-interest is the valid end of all action. So it justifies all the ends to get your means. Like, they say whatever ends justify the means. So your self-interest is a valid reason to do everything you do. And that's all that matters. That's the extent of the morality. It's good because I want it. So that is egoism. And we're going to start with this quote. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. That's from the quote from some conversations from the Peloponnesian War, where the Athenians that wiped out Medians. Some mid folks got wiped out because they ain't have enough power.
He said some mid folks got. I mean, that's how it go.
Yeah, that's literally what be going on. Mm-hmm. So if you have been around for any length of time, and I know some of y'all are working, so I appreciate y'all being here, lurking and whatnot, listening in. If you've been around, and I know we haven't, you've been around, but we haven't. Mm-hmm. We be talking about power dynamics all the time.
Yeah.
And she put me onto it. And I realized that power dynamics are a large reason for a lot of the things we do, a lot of the conversations that we listen to and partake in over these last 3-4 years have been about power dynamics, even if that's not what we named.
Right.
Like almost every single conversation. So as long as two people exist, it's going to be a factor. And even if nobody else is around, power is a word that we use to describe the ability to make our desires happen. But
hey.
So what?
I said, hey, I like that.
Okay.
I know I read it before, but just when you said it out loud,
it made sense.
Yeah, I like
that's
it.
What's up. But I know you guys are thinking. I know Anae's thinking. I know Reese's thinking. I know Nova's definitely not thinking. Bree, Rashad, what does this have to do with us? And I'm glad that I asked that question for you. I have a video I'm going to play. And if you remember the thumbnail, I had Diddy, and Diddy's going to come up. Socrates has already come up, but he's going to come back up. Israel, Palestine, that's going to come up. And modern relationships. So because one of my favorite topics is relationships, I'm going to start there. And I'm going to play this video, and I'm going to ask Bree a question. But I got to navigate to it. Yeah.
That always so Socrates.
Give me a second. Let's see. I got too many. There we go.
How do men pick who they manipulate, and how do you know when they're genuinely interested?
Oh, there's always a profile to a manipulator. I'll give you some common reasons how they can tell if you're easy to abuse, manipulate, or exploit. Number one is if you're codependent. Another one, if you have low self-esteem. If you discount the positives, that's another thing. If they compliment you and you minimize yourself. If you're a catastrophic thinker, whether you magnimize things or you minimize things. If you operate from a place of low self-worth. If you shy away from just general conversations, those are the things that they pay attention to. If you have trauma, that's another thing. And if you are vocal about your trauma, if you have trauma from previous relationships, if you have negative experiences in your childhood and you are vocal about that, they can see that. They can see that in the way you speak, in the way you behave, in the way you interact with people. That is the easiest way to identify if they can manipulate you. If there are certain qualities about yourself that you find low, if you have a lack of self-confidence or anything like that, they're going to take that weakness that you have and they're going to exploit that to use it against you. That's the way that they can tell if you're a person that they can manipulate.
The reason I had included that, and I'm sure a lot of y'all might have picked up on a lot of the language, the low, weak, exploit. So a lot of that low self-esteem, low self-worth, low value, a lot of that stuff. Yeah, talking about power dynamics. And it's important, like, first of all, I want to point out that that's not the question that was asked. The question is, how do you know if a man likes you or just want to manipulate you? So she
That's
didn't
what
even
I was
answer.
thinking.
How do you even know if a man likes you? She didn't even address that. She went directly into men and how they manipulate and what's wrong with you that they see to manipulate you. So all she's saying is you're weak.
Like, it's also difficult to answer that because, like, somebody can like you and still manipulate you.
Absolutely.
So I don't know. It was kind of like what Jordan Peterson was saying. It's a badly worded question. So it's going to just lead into the philosophical dead end. So it's like, I mean, I could like you and still manipulate you.
But
so
that's
what are
we
talking about?
Everything's manipulation.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Like,
so I put a comment. I wasn't going to go this deep into it, but I put a reply to it because it bothered me. It triggered me. But what we need to teach people is not to worry about whether somebody's manipulating you or not, because they are 100%.
Right.
You need to know, is that manipulation benevolent or malevolent? Is it with good intent or with bad intent?
Yeah.
And that's important to know, or neutral. Like, they could be good intent for themselves, but it's neutral to you. Like, well, I think we had just played something. I can't remember. I don't know if I was watching something before, but anyway, somebody could do something that benefits them, but it does not harm them at all. It does not harm you at all. Like a little white lie. That's what it was. I was reading Discord. They can tell you a little white lie that doesn't really cost you anything. Somebody was saying, hey, could you give me a coffee? You're like, sure. But then the person left their shift. So you're out of a coffee, but the next person on the shift can bring you the coffee. So you're not really out of anything. You were manipulated. And it benefited the person that did the manipulation, but it didn't cost you anything. There was really no negative benefit because you could still get your coffee from the next person on the shift. So like, we need to understand that there's positive manipulation, something that benefits somebody, and then there's negative manipulation, something that can harm somebody. Everything we're doing, like you said, you're manipulating your background because people are going to be walking by. That doesn't cost us anything, but it's a manipulation. I have a fake image up here. It's not costing anybody anything, but it's a manipulation. We're manipulating the image out instead of that ugly StreamYard stream. I think this is more attractive, even if for nobody else than me. Nah, the lady said, how do men know who they manipulate? Request to play the clip.
I think she might have said it at the end, and that's true. But I also, like, I mean, I know we weren't hanging on that clip too long, but also, like, I when you hear that, I think it's one thing for me is, like, be careful about it, because even some people who manipulate and, like, especially if they have a person, they're not, like, consciously thinking that, you know. I just feel like when you hear her say that, it makes it sound like, yeah, he just in the cut like this, because that's like a predator, you know what I'm saying? Like, so she is talking about predators, which is true, but I don't even think for people who are predators all the time it's a conscious thought, because a lot of them are just nurtured up in an environment that creates that kind of predatory instinct or thought. Or, you know, some people just because of not wanting to acknowledge the validity of power structures kind of fall into predatory roles. So I don't know. Everything she said was true, but I don't want to read anything that they're like, if you were to ask somebody like, are you seeing my trauma? Are you going to use that to manipulate? They're going to like, I don't think people are that consciously racking up
most people aren't.
Of who to you. It's kind of a feel thing. I would say in practice, you just feel when somebody kind of got a weak fortitude. Weak mental fortitude shows in a lot of ways. It shows in more ways than she even named. So
most people do not put that much thought into it. A lot of times we go off of intuition and feeling. So sometimes you'll feel like, oh my God, they're so whiny. And then you just naturally just don't want to be around them. You're not sitting there starting to deliberate like, oh, you know what? I think I could placate them and pretend like I'm going to help them to extract something, get access to something. Or most people are not that deeply devious, but we're still manipulative, because you'll also be like, we should catch up sometime, knowing that you're not ever going to try to catch up with that person. That's a manipulation. So we do it all the time. I think that the woman is right. It applied to who was targeted by sociopaths, psychopaths, but that's definitely not what men are targeting for a good partner. Maybe pieces of it though. Yeah, and I'm about to play the clip again. I know Bree said nope. I'm gonna play the clip
I was
again
trolling.
for Yella. Yeah. Most people are. Now here's the thing. I'm gonna go deeper with it, Nova, because I know we weren't going. This is not the focus of it, but I like this kind of conversation. We're all predatory. We're all predatory. That's why I'm adding the difference between malevolence and benevolence. Because right now you are pursuing an education. You're pursuing the education as bait to pursue a high-paying job. You are preying upon certain conditions to favor yourself. You are trying to consume an aspect of life. You are trying to get access to something. We're all preying upon something else. Even if we're like, we just want to be friends. I just want to hear the question again. I got you. Even if it's somebody like you just want to be friends, you want that person for their company. What we consider predatory is when somebody wants you for sex, which is just one aspect of a relationship. Nobody considers it predatory when you just want somebody to keep you company or to sit with you while you're in the hospital. If you're trying to be kind to somebody, to get somebody to spend time with you, and you're doing that's still the same function, you're just not after sex.
Yeah, but I think predatory will also have the connotation of wanting to, like you said, the consummation. Well, not consummation, like, you know.
Yeah, you're consuming, but you consume
you
people's time.
You
outside
consuming
of
their
sex.
time. Yeah, that's why I was like, you consuming their time.
Their energy, their money. Like we're exchanging, transacting, and using each other. There are just certain things that we have decided are good and bad, and we only put predatory and manipulation on the things that we have deemed are bad, and the other things that we feel are okay, we don't consider them manipulative or predatory, but they are. And we know that because if the wrong person asks you for your time, you feel offended. If somebody that doesn't invest in you asks you for your time, like a solicitor, no investment, you know they want something, and they're just asking for your time, you've got a problem. If your neighbor asks, if your best friend asks you for the same amount of time, you don't have a problem. We place value on the person that's asking, their value to us. Do they reciprocate? All of that stuff matters in the equation, but we don't consider that. Yellow wanted to hear the clip again real quick.
How do men pick who they manipulate, and how do you know when they're genuinely interested?
Wanted to hear the question.
So she didn't answer the
manipulate
second question.
And genuinely interested, because genuine interest is a part of the equation. Because the behavior, somebody is going to, like we talked about the whole first date flowers. That was a big thing. There's a whole dating culture where the first date flowers is positive. But Bree was like, you bring me flowers on the first date, it's a red flag. So the same action can be seen as something that is a good gesture, a genuine gesture, a nicety, or something that's, oh, you're love bombing me. You're love bombing me.
That white lady said, she said love bombing.
Yeah. I mean, but you went with it.
I said I'd be giving you the side eye. I didn't say I would think you're a full-blown narcissist who's love bombing me. But I probably would. I would probably be like, okay, let's see what card is he playing right here.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Why is it that many men have a problem with women that have a higher salary bracket?
If the money you make changes your attitude towards men, it's not the fact that you make that amount of money. It's the fact that you're with that amount of money.
No, it's the fact. No, conditioned so long to believe that all you have to bring to a relationship is financial. So when they don't have that, and the woman steps up and says, well, I have finances, what else do you have? And they don't have anything else.
Thank you.
No communication. They can't talk, they can't cook, they can't clean. So really it's because they realize that they're the in the situation. You're the in the situation. And that's the reason why you're acting like that. That's the reason why.
Yeah. So I like hot isms here. What's up, Chris Classic in the building, man? 420, man.
Hey.
April 20th, man. Steal the show. Go to Take It Home Podcast. Go to C3 Ultimate Wrestling. Find him on Eventbrite, man. Get some tickets, man, because the show is just 2 weeks, 3 days away. Go check him out. But now,
Ooh, that was
now the
spicy.
tea in that clip. Yeah, the tea in that clip, Breed. First of all, he said when you get the money, it's that your attitude changes. Now, 100 watts is in the building. What's up, bro?
Hey, 100 watts.
But then you see how she said, well, now you don't have the money. What else can you bring? And she said, the problem is now you're the bitch. Now you don't have money. Now you're the bitch. What is she saying there, Bree? Help me understand. Translate that. Woman, explain that for me.
I'm woman explaining this. I think that what she's saying is a lot of men feel disempowered in the dynamic when they don't make the most of the money, because for a lot of men, making more money and having that position is a sense of empowerment for them in the dynamic. And so if you take that away, then a lot of them don't feel, I mean, they do be feeling some type of way. A little clenched up, maybe.
A little clenched up.
You start to feel them dynamic. I think it's a dynamic thing. You feel the dynamics have shifted. You know what I'm saying?
Power dynamic has shifted.
You're a
Absolutely.
little uncomfortable. You can't throw your weight around the same way. And see, the big problem is a lot of them don't even realize they throwing their weight around until they can't. And then you like, oh shit, what's my trump card to get you to do what I'm trying to get you to do? I can't even use that no more. So yeah, it's like the leverage. They realize they don't have as much. You never really had it, but they feel away. And what's wrong with acting different when you make some money? Shoot, men act different when they start making cute money. So I mean, yeah, it's a power thing. It's the empowerment thing. So yeah, they start. I mean, so to say you feel like the bitch. Oh yeah, you feel clenched up. You be like, oh, you know.
But that goes back to, like you said, empowerment. If money is what makes you feel like who you are, then what were you in the first place? Like, if that's the thing where you derive your value and how
that's
you
where they
behave,
got their power.
whether you have money, whether you up or down in the money in the relationship, if your relationship, how you behave in it is whether you're up or down, you have a second set of problems that maybe you're not aware of. And if you change drastically because you're up or down, like your whole personality shifts, your ability to communicate, like that's you. If you lost your power because you lost money, then you need to have a personality, persona. You need to have an identity outside of what you can bring.
Yeah, I mean, but it's just one of those things where I think a lot of men don't necessarily realize that they have a certain mindset until they're like don't have the ability to be in the typical what they, like you kind of have a typical dynamic maybe you envision. I mean, maybe less now. I don't think as time goes on, I don't think male and female, I don't think a lot of women grow up thinking they're not going to work when they get married. I mean, there still are, but a lot of it by default, you're just like, I'm probably going to work, right? Like most women are like, I'm probably going to work. So I think most men assume their partners are probably going to work, which makes that even more so that when you get in a situation where the man makes enough to have his wife or girlfriend not work or whatever. I don't know why you do that, but with a girlfriend. But if they do get in that dynamic, they feel it a little different, because it's more of an accomplishment now, I think, in this kind of modern society. So yeah, I don't think a lot of people realize that it's a source of empowerment for them unless it's taken away. You see the same thing with women. It's a lot of women that once they can't work, a lot of women will say, I cannot not work. You feel the power vacuum. You feel the power dynamics more if you are not working and he is. So I think it's just that's how he's experiencing it. And yeah, some men are not comfortable in that space.
Yeah, I respect it. I know me and you be talking about Esther Perel quite a bit. Right. I brought whole math to the table. Patriarchy comes up quite a bit. Feminism, we love some Priscilla. I ain't watched her in a minute. Kevin
I don't know
Samuels was
which
a big topic.
personality she on this month.
Yeah, I gotta check her out. I gotta see if she's still on that pro man kick. I saw 2 episodes in a row, and they were both pro man, and the ladies wasn't feeling it. So I gotta go check in, see if she's doing all right, seeing if everybody abandoned her ship or not. But even in relationships, whether we name it as power or not, like you said, empowerment or disempowered, in each of these like gender war conversations that people have been having, that's what they've been talking about. So how do you see like power dynamics influence relationships? And in any of yours, like, do you have an example, whether it's it doesn't have to be romantic or not, because it happens in every relationship we have. How do you give us an example of how power dynamics have shifted a relationship?
I would say in my own, I used to work when we first got married. I worked the first chunk. I stopped working during the pandemic. So I made more too. I made more money than him. So it went from that to now I don't work it. Well, I work one day. Does it even count? It don't even really count. I'm just gonna say I don't work. I basically don't work. So now it like kind of flipped. And so yeah, I've experienced the power dynamic shift in our own relationship. But that's why I was like, it's not as cut and dry, because even with the financial power, like they're different realms. So even though financially, like I'm in the more submissive position, right?
Submit.
Personality wise, I'm still a very like, I got a strong personality. So there's still moments where even though I'm in a more submissive place and I'm like okay with that, I still be strong arming sometimes. And I just can't help it. But I've seen how it changed, like how we talk to each other in negative and positive ways, right? And I think we talked about that when we were talking about the whole Nickelodeon thing, that a person who is usually like a more or expected to be or has been in more dominant positions, they can tell when they're being sunned or domed or like power, somebody's pushing into their space more than someone who's not. So that's the hardest thing about it, I think. Like having that innate need to push back sometimes when I shouldn't, but I can't help it. So yeah, but it be like in like making a conscious decision to take that more submissive role, I think feels different than just kind of finding yourself there all the time.
Gotcha.
I would say.
So like choosing the role as opposed to kind of getting like just accidentally ending up there.
Like some people. Yeah, some people I call them squirrely. Like they just squirrely.
Yeah.
So they gonna just always kind of end up there anyway. So I don't think they would
victim
notice.
Of circumstances.
Yeah,
but their energy always takes them there, but they just like don't really want to be there because they didn't choose.
Or like some people like it, but like if your energy like always takes you there, I think you wouldn't even maybe notice it. They maybe wouldn't notice it until they're put in a position of authority, maybe.
Yeah, I get that.
But that's what I see like with kids.
Yeah, I'm about to say Nova talks about that a lot. No matter who's he's dealing with, he always ends up being a bottom. So Nova, he's talked about that. His dynamic always takes him to being a bottom, not a power bottom either. He's just
that is true.
Take that. Bottom.
Not that he's a power bottom, but not a bad boy bottom. We just gonna call him bad boy. Take that.
Bad boy bottom.
Yeah,
he's to take that bottom, not a bad boy bottom.
You take that. I think that's true what he's saying. That a lot of men do become less trustworthy when they make more money, which is something I guess we don't talk about a lot. I think if you were to find someone who already makes a lot, then it's kind of what you're getting. But it's almost scarier to like be with someone who transitions from not making what makes them feel empowered to making what makes them feel empowered. It's kind of more
Why do you
scary.
think that is?
Because you don't know if they've never abandoned that, you don't know you really don't know what you're about to get. Like people would say, well, you should, but it's like power dynamics are a crazy thing. You do not know what you're gonna get.
Because a character hasn't been tested on that level.
Yeah, they ain't had, some people ain't never been there to tell nobody what to do or felt like they had a right to tell somebody what to do. Whether it's about their own selves, like I'm always telling you about yourself if they come to me. But some people not like that unless they feel like they have a right to. Some people feel like they need permission to say what they want to say and do what they want to do. And it's those people that I be kind of like, I don't know. I don't know. It's scary.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense. I think we have I want to call it like a misnomer. We have a misunderstanding. We think people are how they are all the time.
No.
And we don't realize that people are how they are in the circumstances. And
Yeah.
circumstances can bring out something different in a person. Unless you like, even if you know their core being may react in a different way under extreme pressure. And I don't think we don't understand what people are like when they're under extreme pressure or when they have a lack of restraint, because maybe their restraint was external and you knew them the entire time and they felt like some external pressure to conform to something, a code.
Right.
But then that whatever that was dropped off. Like maybe their mother died or their father died, and that was the person that they always
They'd be like, bitch,
performed
I'm
for.
free now.
Yeah, yeah.
Ooh, you don't know what you gonna get. I'm telling you.
Yeah.
It's scary out here.
Nah, that makes sense. What types of power or what domains of life do you think is something that we like fight over a lot? Maybe like if you said like when you would
Financial.
said you and King financial. Okay.
I think people fight over financial. And then there's what's this realm? I don't know what it is. I think emotional too. Okay. Emotional power. I would actually put that above finances because that's not even something you can quantitatively measure. Like if I make 120K and you make 70, bam, okay, I make more. It's like on paper. But emotional power dynamics, I think that's what people fight over more, and that's not even quantitative. So that's
ain't no
even
metric
worse.
for it.
It's no metric for it, and there's really not for most people. There's no standard to ground what is right or wrong, or who what is the most optimal thing. So I think emotional power dynamics is probably what people fight over the most and don't even realize it.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Dury, man, and Quantum. Shout out to both of y'all. I don't think I agreed with Quantum when she came in. Dury, check your messages either on Discord or Whisper. I reached out to you. No metric for it. Bars. I think there's intelligent differentials that cause power dynamics, which could be related to emotional. If someone can, even when they're wrong, debate better than their partner, for example. Yeah. I was just watching something, and it was a movie, and they said the mom and dad would have arguments. Yes, the father could yell louder, but the mother could yell faster. Like, so it was like there's the power imbalance of somebody has the volume, but somebody has the velocity, and those words come flying at you, like speed versus power, like in a fight, in a boxing match. She said in the building.
Hey, I was watching that little white man. I don't know what his name is. He's just gonna be that little white man who do poker. He was talking about how some people are more conceptual thinkers and some people are not. Like there was something else. He had a name for their thinking style, and he was like conceptual thinkers can think kind of on a higher level. So he was saying a lot of times it's better to have the conceptual thinker come down to the level of the more like I guess concrete or straightforward thinker. So yeah, and that same thing, if you're a more conceptual thinker, I think you're going to have the upper hand in a lot of those mental, emotional dynamics. Unless you just can't get a grip on your own emotions. But yeah, if you're like a conceptual thinker, then that does kind of give you an upper hand when you start talking about like emotional power dynamics.
Yeah, something talking over someone means they won. Yeah, so that's I think that's what Bree talking about when she's talking about the emotional component, because people will feel good because they've talked over somebody. I feel like I've won because I've overpowered you, but I haven't been heard or understood. So what did I win? So there's like the emotional victory, the emotional power that people are fighting over, and then there's what they should be trying to not even fight for, but the relational power. They should be building that up, but they're fighting for emotional power. So. I'm with that.
It is also easy to give concessions when you can like see it clearer and the other person has no idea what they're fighting for.
True.
Like as the Peril says, like they're under what they say. A lot of people don't think. A lot of people think about like what's right in front of them, and they think the thing is about the thing that they're literally saying. It's very much so easier to give that person concessions so they can feel like they won.
Yes.
Yeah.
Make you feel like a big boy.
It's like
that kind of thing.
Okay.
You just want to feel like you want to feel important. You want to feel like a big
man.
Man.
I don't think a lot of times they just don't know that that's what they want or what they're talking about, and you just kind of gotta pretend. I don't know. Let me stop talking.
No, I get you. I think for us, when y'all try to play us, to like, oh, you want to feel like a big man, and y'all play that little thing, and y'all play the damsel, so we can feel like a big man.
Yeah.
Y'all's is y'all want to feel independent. Y'all want y'all's autonomy and agency. Oh, you want to feel like a big girl? Go ahead, put your big girl panties. Go ahead.
Her autonomy.
Be a big girl. Make your decisions. Go ahead. Go out there by yourself.
That's true.
So I think we both had the same big boy, big girl pants that we want to put on every now and then. I can do it myself.
Me personally, I mean, this like just stop wearing pants.
Yeah.
That's the best answer. Just don't wear pants.
Kilts.
Can be manipulated. Kilts. Yep.
Let's go. Now listen, you had mentioned quiet on set a minute ago. I'm gonna play that clip now. We're gonna talk about that.
You hear scuttlebutt about the business and what you got to watch your kids and this and that. So I was very attentive. All the other parents.
Real quick. Trigger warning. I can't remember exactly what he says, but this is around a situation where child predation was happening. So anybody that's super sensitive and can't hear anything regarding a child being harmed, I just want to, put that trigger warning out there for you.
You hear scuttlebutt about the business and what you got to watch your kids and this and that. So I was very attentive. All the other parents would be seen and not heard, which I would never interrupt anything, but very rarely sit in the green room. I'd always be offset somewhere where I could always keep my eyes on Drake. And unfortunately, I started seeing Brian start to just hang around Drake too much. And it didn't set well with me. Drake would be in the dressing room or something, and in would pop Brian and just touch Drake. Do things that, wait a second, what are you doing? Drake can put that on himself. And the thing is, this is in front of people. Then he'd maybe walk over to Drake and be feeding him some lines or whatever and put his arm around his waist, put his hand up on his shoulder and kind of run it down his arm and things like that. And this would happen routinely. Was just always uncomfortable.
Yeah, I remember when you told me, well, shout out to Blaze, man. Appreciate you for checking us out, man. We're having a little talk about power and power dynamics and the philosophy concept, egoism today. But you told me when you saw before me, that part would bother me. The father was in position to protect his son, and the predator was able to drive a wedge between the father and son by appealing to the mother, saying that the father was stealing, and remove the father out of the picture. The father, simply because he wanted to maintain a relationship with his son, was willing to back away and give the power of his son over to the mother, who didn't even want to do the legwork of getting her son to and from places safely, and ended up trusting her son's safety to this man who was grooming and pursuing him.
And also the man that he literally told her, like, not this person.
Yeah, don't let him around.
This man.
Do not let him around Drake.
First and last
Literally
name.
said that. Yeah. Do not let this man around. So in what ways do parents struggle to notice predators and why? People who are there to exploit, whether it's them or their children. How do we fail to notice some of these red flags?
I mean, with women specifically, I think a lot of women are agreeable. Like, we know, like, okay, let me back that up because I don't want to just sound like. So we start talking about the Ocean or Hexaco models of personality scales, right? You have openness, extroversion. What are they like? Neuroticism, agreeableness, conscientiousness, right? Okay. And then one of them has like another one that's the Hexaco, but it's kind of the same. Like it's proven that women are generally more agreeable. And that's probably through some form of nurture, like because we're taught to be more agreeable. And so a lot of times on these sets, you have like, moms, stage moms. And so in this particular situation, I was saying, I don't think a lot of moms are really actually when you start talking about, I think a lot of moms are mama bears when it comes to overt threats. Like if somebody comes at my child or tries to snatch them, I'm going to like fight you with my life for my child, right? But when you start talking about power dynamics in a structure that's built like these are structures built with these power dynamics, I don't think a lot of women probably have the lack of agreeableness that you would need to adequately protect your child in that kind of situation. The one mom in that thing that did, the one mom who was disagreeable took her son out of it. The son was mad at her, but she was like, yeah, we finna go. And she was like, everybody hated her. Like everybody in the space, they were like, we don't like her. When she comes around, it was like, everybody was like, oh, here she goes. She always gonna have something to say. So that woman was considered, she was not a very agreeable woman, but she was able to protect her child. You know what I'm saying? And so a lot of women, I think, struggle with that because you're taught to be agreeable. Like, a lot of people struggle with people pleasing or like being really nice to people. So I think in those situations, a lot of those moms just weren't able to. It takes a lot to buck back against a structure of power. You know what I'm saying?
And perceived authority.
Yeah, like that's really hard. And I worked in hospitals, and I see that even inside a hospital because they're set up to create authority. The doctor is the authority, right? They come in with the code. You sit down, they stand up, all of that kind of stuff. And I can see patients who maybe I was just talking to a few minutes ago, and they had all this stuff to say, or they had all these questions they wanted to ask. And then once the doctor comes in, then it's like it's quiet, right? Which is why I have to be an advocate in that environment for them because of the awareness of the power dynamics. So a lot of people would like to think that they're stronger or more disagreeable than they are, but I've seen it in real time. Like people who don't, like some people just are not able to stand up for themselves in that kind of environment.
Yeah, it's definitely I know it was hard with my nephew. I don't have children, but I know it was hard with my nephew in certain situations. Like, because to the first clip we played, the lady was saying, how do you know when a guy is showing genuine interest or trying to manipulate you? And I'm inverting. She said manipulate you versus showing genuine interest. I feel like a lot of people can't tell the difference between the two because you're not supposed to. That's the entire point of a scam or a lie. You're not supposed to be able to tell the difference between benevolence and malevolence. So that's why I think it's the wrong. I think that's why it's wrong to think that you're going to see a behavior and think you're going to know whether it's good intended or bad intended. One behavior is like somebody that works in the dressing room really might have to help your child get dressed for a show. One behavior isn't what tips you off. It's a consistent pattern of behavior.
Right.
Because the reason why the same person would always have to help your son or or your child, somebody that always has to be,
or if their parent is there. It's like it's just a different, but to prove that, like
positioning.
Yeah, people you hear that and you're like, why on earth? But you hear he was the only parent there, like a lot of times. So that means out of all of those kids on set, none of the other parents were disagreeable enough to buck back against it.
Yeah,
like that's the reality of the situation. Like people say, oh my gosh, that's crazy, I would never. But you got to look at the numbers. He was the only one.
Yeah.
So.
And it's the same thing I would say if you look at the ratio for people that show up to their parent-teacher conferences, the people that show up to their kids' soccer and football games, it's usually a minimal amount. It's a smaller percentage. Whether that's through they just don't have the time because they're working or some other reason, but there's also a genuine lack of interest in the lives and welfare of their kids by a whole lot of people. I'm shout out to Mr. He said, I don't think I greeted you when you came in. She said had a question, but I didn't understand the way it was framed.
Yeah, I wasn't.
What you were asking.
Yeah, I wasn't exactly sure. I needed more, like, I guess, words or context for that.
It's hard to tell the difference between because we are only looking for interest in us as a verifier. A genuine interest in you look exactly like a genuine interest in taking advantage of you. They're going to look exactly like they're supposed to, though. A scam should look like the truth.
Yeah,
and the mother actually listened to what the father was warning. Yeah, but they're like I said, the reason is malevolent versus benevolent.
Oh, okay.
I was being a smart ass. Got you.
Okay.
And the mother actually listened to what the father was warning her about, and he took the time to specifically warn her about one guy. Like that's what's really crazy about it. It's not just like be careful about your son or watch him around here.
Yeah, he said don't let him be alone with him ever.
And that's the first man that comes looking for your son, and you're like, there's nothing strange about this. Like,
she started letting him spend the night over the guy's house. Because she didn't want to have to drive him an hour away to the studio.
She didn't want to drive. Yeah, she didn't like driving.
She didn't want to drive. So she let him drive and then started letting him just spend the night over there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of women traditionally were nurtured into being more agreeable. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a general. I'll say that's a general American sentiment. I would say up until recently, that's been something that women were supposed to be. To be more quiet and docile and genteel and meek, and those were things that were actually taught. I think even like in charm schools and stuff like that, women were taught to be more agreeable and and politeness. So that's definitely. I mean, that was actually like formally taught, as opposed to not even just like a cultural thing. It was like formally taught for women. Yeah. Serious charge down underneath the jail.
And they didn't
touching my
tell
child.
him. And they didn't even tell him until like years and years later. Like they never, she
Mhm.
didn't tell him when the police were like nothing. He radio silent. Like he didn't know anything. The son didn't tell him. The mom didn't tell him. And you know, of course, if it's a court case, it's sealed because he was a minor. So he had no idea, which is
Mhm.
even crazier. So it's obviously there's some hatred there towards dad that just overrode
Yeah.
protecting her child because there's just no other way. You do the opposite of what he said, unless you just didn't want to
Yeah.
do what he said because you hate him
Yeah,
and
at
you
the
feel
son's
like he can't
expense.
tell me what to do.
At your son's expense. That's the crazy part. I really wish. I know Shame Sunday, Mr. She said, Mr. He said, they talk about this a lot. People really don't care as much about their kids as they proclaim to. And
No.
the facts, like the way we live our lives kind of proves that out. But I'm gonna move on to like this part about Socrates real quick. Just play this clip.
Socrates' trial. You know, he was tried by the Athenians for corrupting, for failing to worship the correct gods and corrupting the youth of Athens by like teaching them stuff and asking them questions, you know, which is a great way to corrupt people. And so he knew the trial was coming. And Athens wasn't a very big place. It only had about 25,000 people. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody knew who the powerful guys were. And everybody, including Socrates, knew that the trial was a warning to like get out of town, right? So we're going to put you on trial in 6 months. And the potential penalty is death. Got that? It's like, so Socrates had a chat with his compatriots, and they were contemplating fair means and foul to set up a defense for him so that he could, or to leave, so that he could not be tried and put to death. And
Buddy got put to death. They got that man. They got that man. Yeah, they don't. When it's opportunistic for them, they do. Yeah, they got that man. He stood his ground. He didn't run, but he ended up dead.
He was old though.
He was.
Yeah.
But my question for you though is, we get to criticize everything about our country. Socrates was killed for that. He asked people to look inwardly for answers instead of teaching them. Just like, what is that called? Not professorial, but like where you stand there like in lecture halls where they just kind of teach you stuff. He would ask questions to get you to pull the answers from within yourself, to tease out the truths or relevant questions or secondary thoughts, to critically think. What is something you think that we should be more critical of in our day-to-day lives?
Let's see. Just I think some people I find that people should wonder why they think things should be the way that they are.
The default setting.
Yeah, like I think a lot of people have a lot of default shoulds that they haven't really themselves thought about. Like just on any level of like, why should it be this way?
Yeah.
And that may be something that I run up against because I'm a little bit morally ambiguous than others. So I think sometimes I run into a lot of shoulds and they irk me.
Not Hanifa Saidi.
Not
Hanifa Saidi.
Oh my God. I Pokeball it. We
I
finna try to
know.
catch it. We a wild Hanifa appeared. We gotta get our
Oh my
Pokeball
gosh.
out. But yeah, I run into a lot of shoulds sometimes with people, and because of how I am. And I think a lot of times when you ask people like, well, why should I? Like people feel like you just kind of, which I mean, I guess in a Socrates way, I am bucking back. But a lot of times I am genuine. I am really curious to know why people think like, why should I? Why should I? And people be like, oh, you trying me. Okay. But still, you didn't answer my question. So I just think, yeah.
I get you. I think it's a similar thing, but I think it's specifically the things that we're taught. I mean, the things that we're taught, especially in the places where we're not allowed to ask questions. I would say from our parents and church, especially, those two areas where people were not to be questioned, you're supposed to be seen and not heard. Nobody wants to be held to account. Because your parents, of course, you can't hold your parents accountable to anything. I pay the bills around here. If you don't like it, leave. And as far as the church, it was kind of the same thing. Well, you're not forced to be here. If you don't like the way things are run, then you can go start your own church. Places like that, any place that would tell you if you don't like the way we're doing things, you should just leave. They can't have any criticism and you can't ask any questions. Those places I think those are the first places we should question why do we feel an allegiance to losers? that shouldn't be like
Let's
us.
go.
Shout
Yeah,
out to
because I'll
Category.
leave for real. Like I'll quit a job. I'll leave a church. Like that's
Yeah.
kind of my thing. Like I don't know what that's like to feel like I can't ask questions. Like I don't even know what it's like to not have questions. Y'all can ask my husband. He'd be like, "You always gonna." I'm gonna have questions.
Yeah.
So like I've had to leave a lot of structures. Sometimes in the last minute, like, oh, I guess I'm quitting today. All right. Like I don't know.
Because the moment you can't ask questions, that's when you get into this place where you are with like your son being in the hands of the dude that's grooming him.
Yeah.
Because you can't ask questions. Like if you can't ask
Like, why
questions,
can't
if
I be
nobody
in
can
the
be
green
looked at.
room?
Yeah, why can't I be there? Like I think he said put it in there. Why can't I be in the room where my children are? I have to leave the room where my children are.
What's
That's
happening?
weird.
What are y'all doing?
Yeah, that's
I would
strange.
have had questions.
Then I'm causing trouble if I ask questions. Nah, that's a place you don't need to be in. Like automatically, that should be a red flag. We were told there are no stupid questions. I like that.
I be telling my kids there are stupid questions, but you can still ask.
And see, I say that, but I say that they're more thoughtless questions. Like there are questions you didn't think about before you asked.
Yeah, you didn't think about it. That's a stupid question to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like you
I
got
get
the
you, I
answer
get
within you to that question you just asked me. You just don't want to actually think about it. So that was a dumb question.
I'm with that.
Yeah.
I'm with you there. But what answers do you think as people? Because we had these conversations all the time. What things do you think we're afraid to look inside ourselves to see?
Sexuality.
Oh, you
sexuality.
Would. You would.
And for the last one, sexuality.
Dylan.
Yes, all that. Yeah.
I think that is probably like one of the last frontiers that we are the most afraid to even come close to. We had a talk all the time, and I know everybody ain't ready for it, but it's cool. I'm gonna leave that. I'm gonna leave that there. I agree with you. What you said, I do agree with you, but I would say another one. Sexuality is also religion, because I really like to the default setting thing. I don't think a lot of people they don't take apart what the things that they're taking part in, the practices, the traditions, or some of the things that they say. They don't think about what they mean, because they've accepted an emotional meaning. Like it feels like they're saying this to me. Like when they say hallelujah, I take it as the highest praise. Has anybody ever looked up what that word means? I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it, but you've never even examined it to verify what anybody said. Where do these words come from that you say all the time? Like, you know how many grown 20, 30-year Christians did not know that Jesus was not his name? Like, that just blew me.
I didn't mean to laugh.
I mean,
yeah, because like when the people
laughable.
came along, was like, the J didn't exist. I'm like, because his name didn't start a fucking J. It's basically like an English translation of his name. Like, I mean, because my name isn't the same depending on what country I'm talking to. Some countries don't even have letters we have. Like,
yeah.
So your name, I mean, I just be like, is that really blowing y'all mind? Because it's Greek. Or it came from Greek, or it came from Aramaic. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, religion is something crazy. Coming up, we'll be coming out of the club. I mean, it's funny because he's wrong about the first part, but then he's right. Because even if I was a homosexual, I wouldn't deny it, because I'm just secure and whatever. If I've chosen to do it, I'm just going to do it.
Do it.
I'm okay with being. I'm okay. If I was gay, I would just be okay being gay, because I am tired of being bound to a fear of somebody else's fear. Like we have adopted a lot of fear of somebody else's fear. It's not even my fear. I don't even care. I wouldn't even want to be around. I wouldn't even want to be around gay people or certain races of people, because the people around me's fears about them. It wasn't even mine. So I'm adopting somebody else's feelings about something that they may not even have an experience of. They might have adopted a fear from somebody else. So how many generations of adopted fears am I away from the thing that we're all afraid of? Even with the sexuality thing. How many people, I'm ashamed to even think about it, because this person's ashamed to think about it, because that person, how far back does that go that none of us have even stopped to think like, man,
who the in the closet person, who the down low person y'all holding this for, basically.
And none of it's us, and none of it'll be us. We're all afraid of something because of somebody else, and they're afraid of something because of somebody else. That's crazy. That ain't his name. Yeah. Christ, yeah, Christ is his last name. Oh, yeah, Christ. Yeah, his name was Christ. Jesus the Christ. The was his middle name.
Jesus Christ.
I think most people are extremely insecure and are scared to think and live independently. That's true. There's a fear of that. So I think nowadays minding your own business is a lost art. Yeah. Damn, how'd you turn that deep? Because it is. How we live our lives, Nova, is the deepest thing that we'll ever do. Like, it's our life. And how we exist, that's as deep as it's ever going to get, but we live superficially. And that's unfortunate.
Some people like it, I think.
I mean, yeah, there's comfort. There's comfort in not thinking.
Yeah, some people don't like to think.
Yeah, there's comfort in not thinking. But it's the same thing. I would say there's mental laziness, and then there's like, I'm physically lazy. I like superficial activity. I don't like deep physical activity that would actually cultivate a healthy body. There's the opposite is true too for your body, for your mind. Some people like superficial thinking. They don't like deep, probative thinking that would actually give you a strong and healthy mind. And I would say you brought up emotions earlier. I think the same thing is there too. People don't inspect their emotions, so they like superficial feeling. I want to feel. I want to laugh at a comedy. I don't have to feel complex emotions where I might have to examine why do I feel this and why does this person cause me this kind of anxiety. I don't want to have to feel. I don't have to investigate my feelings. So you have an unhealthy set of feelings that'll burst, like that'll lash out at people if they come too close to them because they're unhealthy, because you haven't trained them, because you haven't developed them. You don't have an understanding of them. So I would definitely think we have a hard time cultivating our mind, body, spirit, emotions. We have a hard time with that. And I'll admit where I'm lazy. I'm lazy. That's my big.
Man, don't nobody be trying to move around all the fucking time doing shit. Listen, I'm pro lazy too. Y'all can get that. No, I'm good.
Yeah. So because of that, like I get why people are lazy, whether it's mental laziness, emotional laziness, physical laziness, financial laziness. I whatever domain in your life that you're lazy in, I understand why you want to be. You don't want to take on. I get it, but I think we could all move a little bit towards. I want to say a little bit more moderation. I know that's a big word. The SEDS platform, moderation. Do a little bit more than you were doing yesterday.
Everything in moderation.
Yeah, everything in moderation. Yeah, not the great granddad came out of the closet.
Yeah.
I gotta do my own thinking. I'll never go along just to get along. And sometimes that means standing alone. I can live with that fact. That's true. It can be, especially whether you start thinking, whether you start getting healthy for your body, whether you start getting on a financial journey of wellness. You're going to leave a lot of people behind you that aren't ready to do the work, whether they don't have the ability or the capacity. Like you're going to leave people behind any way that you start developing. You're going to move away from people. That's just the nature of movement.
I think having a reason doing what you do helps you determine when you want to go along, and when you don't. You know, I think once again, everything in moderation, like they say.
Temperance,
because you can't just be an asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, you can, but
it's not productive.
It's not conducive all the time.
My next examination of power is this one. This one blew me because this one like really shocked me when I heard it. Again, trigger warning. This is about mass casualties. So trigger warning to anybody that has extreme sensitivity to death and chaos. I'm only going to play about a minute and a half of this news clip, but it tripped me out that I wasn't hearing more about this specific thing. And I knew it was because of power.
Eyewitnesses and the Hamas-run Palestinian Ministry of Health say that more than 100 people were killed in what is being described as a chaotic incident as IDF soldiers opened fire as people were trying to get food from aid trucks. CNN's Jeremy Diamond is gathering new details. He's been picking up some new reporting. Jeremy, bring us up to speed here.
Well, first of all, Kate, I think it's important to note that the aid situation, the humanitarian situation in northern Gaza is just so desperate. And that seems to be part of what led to this scene. Hundreds, if not thousands of people surrounding some of these aid trucks that were able to enter northern Gaza, some of the very few aid trucks that have actually been able to make it in there. And you can see in this video from the Israeli military, the crowds of people around these trucks. But what appears to have happened is that the Israeli military opened fire on some of these people who were surrounding these trucks. An Israeli military official telling us that the crowd approached the forces in a manner that posed a threat to the troops, and they say that those troops then responded with live fire. Now, eyewitnesses on the scene have told us that Israeli tanks as well as drones opened fire on this crowd, and that following that, there was a chaotic scene. Some of the drivers of these aid trucks apparently tried to get away amid this gunfire and killed several additional people. We were told that 104 people were killed in this incident, 760 people injured, according to the Palestinian Ministry.
Now
that's crazy.
That's crazy. Now listen, they were already getting bombed out by a more powerful state that has powerful friends like the United States. Power. Now you're already bombing them out because of the events. I can't remember the exact date, but there was a date. Was it October 6th? I want to say it's something like that. October 7th might have been. But it was a date. Everybody keeps saying it. But Hamas, they led an attack on Israel, but they've been disproportionately responding consistently for months now. Now there's food aid trucks. Food aid trucks. I said October 7th, 2nd. I was getting it mixed up with January 6th. January 6th, October 7th. That was my bad. They're sending food. Why would these people who've been getting bombed out? They don't have a home to go to. They can't practice commerce like they had been. They can't work and worship. They're going to food to feed themselves and their families. And they open fire, not just on the ground, but using drones. Drone strikes on people at basically what we would call like a food pantry. We're going to get all the port. We're going to already mess up. We red line black people out of their community. They got nowhere to go. They all go to a Red Cross station and try to get food, and we start shooting at them, like get them into a kill box and just start lighting them up, and using drones. This stuff is crazy, and the fact that it's not talked about every single day, like that act alone. Like if you want to say it's war, that's one thing, but when you start going at civilians, that's a next level of depravity, like intentionally targeting civilians. It's like that's why that thing was bothering me, but it was another exercise of power.
Right.
And power gets away with everything if the people can't stop.
One in control.
My little thing? I was trying to. Where's it at? Boom. The strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. So that was another exercise. So what's our responsibility as thinkers, people, humans, citizens of America? What would you say our responsibility is? Is it to gain power, to have control ourselves because we have a different moral compass than an America or an Israel, or is our responsibility to resist power, to have self-control for ourselves and our loved ones, or are we supposed to try to co-opt power to distribute it evenly amongst the people so that nobody feels disenfranchised or disempowered, to learn how power operates in our lives and adapt? Like, what do we do other than to change the color of the profile square on X to reflect who we?
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you have to like for me, it starts with the self, like you in instance of egoism, but not like everything is to the end of self-interest, but know thyself. Like you have to know yourself first and understand how you play into dynamics, because in all that you're not going to be in power in all dynamics. Like you're going to be in control, and you're going to be in control. Sometimes you're going to be being controlled, and sometimes there's going to be nothing you could do about it. I think for me, I always try to think, what can I actually control? And then I'll kind of start from there. So that's mostly all you can do. But I'm more of an individualist. So with individualism, it's like my responsibility is to know myself, be my like best self, most productive self. And then like also the people in my immediate sphere of influence are my responsibility.
Gotcha.
But that's pretty much after that. But knowing that creates better or stronger people who then can have their own solvency or their own power or whatever. That's kind of where I choose to put my energy and focus.
Okay. Now I know we've had that conversation, individualist versus collectivist. We've had that so many times. So I definitely understand that. And there's merit to that, I think, in a system where everybody's striving to be the best individual self, or where we have a common standard of what a best self is or goodness is. So I think that would be useful. But in where we have like like heterogeneity, where everybody's different, we have different beliefs, different cultures, everybody's version of good looks very dissimilar, including some people's version of good would mean doing you harm. Does being the best individual self for the best individual for yourself, does that have any, does it move the needle where it needs to move it when somebody else's good is exactly opposed to yours, like diametrically opposed?
Like if someone else is good, like literally causes me harm.
Is it all cancel? Like if somebody else's good is actually just trying to cancel out your harm, like your good,
right?
Somebody else is trying to cancel out your good with their version of good. They're opposites,
right? Right.
You want Pepsi to not exist, another person wants Coke to not exist, but y'all belong. Like there's somebody's
you gonna
good
be
at your detriment.
Yeah, that's not my concern.
Okay, so
that's
your concern is simply just your
because the standard determines good or bad, right?
Okay.
So the way I see it is there's always going to be somebody whose good is maybe opposite of mine. There's some people who have no standard, so everything is relative, right? Like a morally ambiguous person, maybe what's good or wrong, right or wrong in the moment changes. It's all relative. It's all dependent on the situation. So I already exist with the understanding that there's people whose idea of good are maybe in direct opposition to mine.
Okay.
But what can I do? I can't change a person's mind. I can't force them. I'm not in a position to be able to force them to accept a different standard or structure. So all I can do, unless I'm put in a position of power, like if I'm in a position where I can actually influence people and I have people under me or people under my influence, then my responsibility to that rises also with that. Okay. But if I'm just a regular person without much influence or power over anybody, I mean, yeah, I really can't do much to change someone else's standard of what is good or bad. My understanding is if people have no standard, there is no good or bad.
Okay.
So yeah, that doesn't feel like a threat that I have to be worried about on an emotional or intellectual level. Yeah.
Nah, I get you. Shout out to Von Eric. Von Eric, if you're still in the chat, man, please check your IG. I sent you a message the other day. Check your messages. Hopefully I sent it to the right account. Because I am good for missing a letter or a number on somebody's account, sending it to like an old closed account. I know I did that. Let's talk about Black Life before. Yeah, I'm terrible.
But I wanted to add to that. And my responsibility is, if I can help it, not enter into structures that perpetuate power dynamics I don't approve of.
Okay. So it's like cultivating the power that you feel is best in the world. So like it's like you choose to embody the power as best you can that you want to see reflected in the world, and then you choose systems that reflect that same value set and power. If it's a power structure, if you can help, right? I mean that makes sense. No, that's legitimate. Yeah. But all the things that we've clipped up today, all the things that we've talked about so far, all have this in common: is that the strong do what they can, and the weak suffer what they must. And I wanted to ask you this question, Brie, and it's not really part of today's topic, but it was a question that came. I was thinking, I'll be sitting thinking, power and freedom are related in a way, but I think they're not the way we think. Like everybody thinks power and freedom, like you get power, then you're free. But I think it's actually the opposite.
Right, I'm about to say
freedom and power are opposites. I would say freedom is not having a single need that requires power to fulfill. If you have to have power to fulfill the need, then you're not completely free because you're dependent. That freedom is liberty. Your liberty is dependent upon whatever power you had to access.
Yeah, freedom we're talking about like power. Liberty or like truly free.
Yeah, like even like personal freedom. You're not like, personally free if you have to access power. Like if I need credit, I'm not financially free. Like if I need it,
right?
If I depend on it, if there's something that I depend on outside of myself, I'm not free because I need that thing. I'm dependent upon something. Like psychologically, conceptually.
Yeah,
conceptually. And then the opposite, power is what you acquire to obtain the things that you aren't free to access. So you don't have access to something. You only need power to access that thing. So like power and freedom for me are like inversely proportional. The less access you have to something, the more power you need to gain. And I would even relate it to the gender thing, like when they were talking about money. Well, you don't have money. What else can you bring? You need to go get more power because you've lost access. You've lost power to me. Now you have to gain something else to gain the power to access what is a relationship with me or sex with me. Whether that's so I think there's a power and freedom paradox because we think that you need
Yeah.
to get both. If I get power, I'm free.
No, that's not necessarily true. Because there's like a lot of responsibility that comes with power too. Sorry. Yeah, there's a lot of power that comes with responsibility that also now kind of binds you. So I don't know. I know a lot of people focus on freedom, being free. I mean, I don't think about it too much. I mean, not like beyond, obviously there are people who truly are not free, like they're slaves still, or they don't even have the freedom to think how they want to think or anything. So I don't know. It's just hard. I don't know. Yeah, is that the highest order for some people? Freedom, right? I guess that is the highest order, like they're
Well, at
working
least
towards.
that's what they state. That's what they state.
That's what they say. Yeah, like, oh, find freedom. So I mean, I can't relate. So I don't. Yeah, I can't relate. It's not something I would say I consciously think about. I would say enough to have a real thought. I guess like, why don't I feel like I'm not free? I guess is the main thing I'm thinking now. Like, why don't I feel like I'm not free? Or I don't know. Now I'm just thinking.
I would even relate it to the Christianity, like because I know you're Christian. Like your freedom is found in giving your power over to Christ.
Yeah,
like it's still the inverse proportion. So if you give your power over your will over to God, you access His power, and that's what sets you free. Like, so that needing to control that.
You can feel freedom as a submissive, right? Like by submitting to a structure can grant you certain freedoms. So yeah, that's kind of why, like for me, freedom as an overarching, I guess that's the best way to articulate it. Like freedom as an overarching thing is a weird concept to me. It doesn't feel grounded in anything. But then there's like within structures, there's freedoms, or like for yourself, what freedom do I want? Right? Like for me, what freedom do I want? Okay, what structure allows me that freedom? So like that's kind of more so how I think about it. I don't look at freedom as like this across the board thing. Yeah, like I don't want to work. I don't want to go work. Yeah. So like what would give me the freedom to not go to work as an adult in America?
Yeah.
Right?
That's a standard you set.
Yeah, like I mean that's the only thing. Like for me, my time. Like I like free time. I like having my time. I'm a creative, so I need space to be able to create. I need room. So working 5 days a week, I mean, it's not it for me. So like that's a realistic thing that is truthfully working a full-time 40-hour a week job would be oppression for me. So I need to figure out how I'm gonna get free from that. So like that's kind of more so like I think freedom in a real grounded way that I actually can do something about. But like some of these overarching higher freedoms, collective freedom ideas, I really struggle with.
Okay, I can respect that. And that was just a sidebar. I was thinking about yesterday. I was like, freedom is relative, and I know Aniva said I think freedom is defined differently. So that's the relativity. Freedom is relative. I have the ability to do almost anything I can think of, but I usually end up chilling at the house reading books. I get that.
Yeah. So it's another relative concept. So you need a structure or something to ground it first before you can then say what is freedom in this particular instance. Okay, how do we get to this said freedom?
I like it. But going back to the quote, why are we so weak? Bray, why are we so weak?
So you don't think some people like being weak? I think some people like being weak.
I think so because they don't have to take up power.
Yeah,
there's a freedom to it because you don't have to take up power. It doesn't require much of you to be.
It doesn't
bound. You just get to loaf. You're there. You're somebody else sets the structure.
You be around.
Somebody else sets your schedule. Somebody else makes the decisions for you. You just
sounds great.
Okay. You just say okay. Okay.
Yep. Okay.
40 hours a week. Okay. I gotta work 2 jobs to afford this one apartment. Okay.
Right.
Can't see my kids all day and they run the streets. Okay. That's what I have to do.
I mean, I think some people like being weak. I don't think everybody has the mental fortitude to or capacity to handle the strength that is needed to be a leader or to be dominant or to be empowered. Like everybody ain't built for it. Somebody got to be the weaker. Let's just say weaker. And then like weak is also relative depending on which you're looking at, what structure we're talking about. Yeah, but I think a lot of people are also some people just stupid. So
Yeah.
that's a weak mental position to just not be
Yeah.
intelligent or have a lower intelligence, right? So like, I don't know, everybody can't be strong. I think if people, I think people who are weak, let's just maybe we use a term of a more submissive in a dynamic or more, you know, the yielding, the giver or whatever.
That's a good word, yielding.
Yeah, more yielding of the two. Like I honestly wish more people accept that they're the yielder or the passive or the submissive. And that's not gender specific. Like some people just are more passive and some people are just more yielding. And some people don't have a strong sense of self to be fighting for. So they can go ahead and be absorbed to somebody else. Go ahead. You gonna do nothing anyway. People to accept it. I just want people to accept that. Like some of y'all don't. Some people don't have no identity. Then that's okay. You ain't got to go find it. Just go get up under somebody with one.
Give your identity to somebody. Yeah, give your
Give it up.
identity to somebody. But what Nova's saying, I think right here, I think this is where the people that are more creative, like yourself, we need benevolent people to reframe the way we think of things. So instead of, like you said, you switch from, you felt intuitively the word weak is they're gonna reject that. But there needs to be a way you facilitate the needs of power. Like there needs to be some way to reframe. Instead of calling you weak, you're a facilitator. You're a facilitator. You're not the visionary. You're not the architect, but you're a facilitator. This doesn't happen without your facilitation. But we're just gonna call it facilitation a weakness.
Yeah.
But people don't like being weak because of the word and the connotation. We need to reframe stuff.
What is like? I'm thinking about weak, like easily crumbles. Like okay, when people say weak, it's like violence. I know people. I think of violence is the biggest one. Like I'm going.
But the truth is, a
lot
of times, what we're not really talking about is true weakness. Like there's a power differential.
Right.
But like the reason Black people ended up being slaves was not because they were weak as in inferior. We were actually the only ones that were sturdy enough to handle the work. Everybody else fell apart. So like the people that are actually useful are not weak. People that are not useful, they don't get used. They're not exploitable. They're not a resource. So you're not actually invaluable or infirm because somebody's looking to exploit you. That actually means something positive. Oh, there's value to you. Oh, you can be used. Oh, you're useful. The thing is trying to capture that usefulness for yourself. You're trying to get that value for yourself to enhance the things that you want, the things that you value. So I think we need to reframe it. It's something. I'm not the person. I can't mentally reframe it myself. I haven't figured that out.
I ain't never been swallowed up.
Nah, I've never been swallowed up.
Go and get swallowed up.
Every type of personal is necessary and valuable. But I think weak is not the word. I don't think that's a word that we can hang on. But we will need to change it. We will need to change that word.
Yeah, I think weak has too many. Yeah, but yielder, passive. Some people just don't feel strongly about a lot of things either, right?
Yeah, that's true. Some people do not have a strong position. They don't have a firm stance. They're not even seeking one. They're not trying to understand what's going on in the news. Here, I'm just going to do my work. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go home. I'm going to take care of my family. And I don't think that's weak. They're just not tapped into a certain realm of life. Like I think we just need to understand that people are suited for different domains of life, and we need to. I
mean, I can't stand those type of people, but I love those type. I can't.
But they're necessary.
But I love those.
Absolutely necessary.
I love them.
Necessary.
You need them.
They make the stuff. They make our lazy stuff work. We wouldn't get to be lazy if it weren't for the people that went and did the 40 to 60 hours.
Because you can't think a lot and do that all for like 40 years.
Nope. You'll go crazy.
Like you can't think a lot and like be like, I'm gonna, because like people like me who see patterns and feel a need to like not necessarily even disrupt patterns, but I'm like a pattern person. It will drive me crazy.
Yep.
I'm like, I've been doing this already this many. Like I think too much. So I love people like that. I can't relate to them and I envy them to some degree. That's probably why I can't stand them. But yeah, they're important. You need them.
It's super important. But I do know that a lot of times, and I'm speaking from myself, but I know there are other people that are like me. A lot of times we're too lazy, whether it's physically, mentally, financially, in some kind of way, we're too lazy. we're distracted a lot. I think all of us on social media can talk about how distracted we are. A lot of us are impulsive, especially in our spending or eating. And we're too much of those things to pay attention to how power works in our daily lives.
Yeah, because
like
then,
not
like,
paying
who am I
attention.
gonna influence? Who am I gonna? I mean, we capitalism wants us that way as well.
Yeah,
Like,
it
because I
does.
can't
I mean, it makes
influence
you a
you to
useful
buy
idiot.
stuff.
Yeah, you're a useful
Exactly.
idiot.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely a process. It's intentional. But it's like
Yeah.
not paying attention to traffic when you're crossing the street. We are too busy entertaining ourselves to be aware of the dangers. And I saw this quote. According to Tinder's annual year-end swipe from 2023, single people who are using their apps are now less concerned about where their relationships are headed. They don't even really care that much. They just want to have a good time. They're more interested in creating opportunities to have new, memorable experiences. And you know
Child,
what?
that's me.
So hold up, Aubrey. Nah, don't even do that.
No, for real.
Nah.
To some degree. I don't think about where. Like, I kind of don't. It's weird. Like, I kind of do feel I don't really focus on, well, it's going this way. Where are we going? I don't really think about it too much. I try to think about, okay, what can I do right now? And that's kind of the memorable experiences. Not like frivolous, but just like, what can I do today to have an awesome experience? Because that's more than likely going to create an environment where we're going to be together long term. Because me just thinking about the time, it was like, I had a friend who had like heard a riddle in a dream, and we were like talking about it. And it was like, just as fear the development of the ground just as the passing of a day. So it's like some people are so worried about what's going to happen later that they do nothing right now to actually get what they're worried about later. So yeah, like in the sense of, are we going to be together in 7 years? I really don't think about I don't really think about it. I just try to like, I want to have memorable times right now, but understanding within myself that more than likely that will contribute to us wanting to be together in 7 years, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense on one level. But we also know the superficiality of a lot of people that are in the world. So when they hear what you're saying, they're like, it doesn't matter who I'm with or who, like, what the relationship, where it's going. None of that matters. The only thing that matters as long as we're having a good time, and everything else will sort itself out. We have a good time today. We'll still relate tomorrow. But I'm going to tell you that kind of dynamic for certain types of people, that's why these girl trips are going sideways. Not cultivating and tending to your friendships, your relationships. So when these experiences don't go wrong, because see, all these experiences everybody wants to have, they don't always go right. They don't always go as planned. People have different expectations because they don't cultivate friendships and relationships where people want similar things. So they end up on the same excursions, not wanting the same things. You want a full itinerary. Well, I want to just lounge around in a resort. Why didn't I know that we had dissimilar interests? Because I didn't care about where the relationship was going. I was not investigative. I was not curious about the people I was in relationship to. I just wanted to have a good time, and we could both afford to have a good time, so we were rolling together. Well, nah, bitch, I want to have a free schedule. Nah, bitch, I ain't going nowhere. And then they end up fighting on the trip because somebody got the full schedule, somebody didn't have enough money, and we was just going over it. I don't know if it was you.
Well, they're not planning, right? Yeah.
They do.
So you think that thinking about the future of the relationship what I'm hearing is like worrying about the future of the relationships, that is an incentive, like that incentivizes people to be good people.
What I'm saying
kind
is,
of like,
if I am curious enough about you to find out who you are, I will know the tendencies enough to know if you're somebody I can share safely an experience with. It's the same thing as people who jump into sex, which is another like experience. They jump into sex with people they don't know, and then they say it didn't go a certain way. I didn't feel safe or something. It wasn't enjoyable because people jump into experiences with people that they
with people
cannot
they don't know.
trust, with do not know, they do not care for, they don't like, they don't. The energy mix is off. When something goes off, like something's just a little different or doesn't go as expected, the other person reacts adversely. The principles are similar, and people don't go off principles; they go off, like you said, learn patterns. And that's what I'm saying.
It's more feelings based.
Superficially, it's problematic. Somebody like you know what I'm talking about, and you wouldn't engage on somebody without knowing them on a deeper level if you were trying to get in. Like the whole conversation with you and the lady that was trying to borrow money, like you know the deeper understanding of how people operate, so you don't fall for that. But somebody else would have fallen for that and expected her to honor her word, but you knew what was up immediately. So that's what I'm saying. Like these conversations will say something like, no, it's more about the experiences and the relationship will take care of itself. That's cool for us to know the initiated.
You're peeping avoidant behavior in that more so than like,
or not even, I won't even say avoidant. I'm going to say it's not even avoidant. It's inhumane. I don't even care about the people that are involved in the experience. I just want company. I want a body to fill this spot. I need a role player. I need you to play your role and shut your mouth. I need you to come in here, sit down, and shut up. I need you to not make any waves because there's a lot of that
they're
going
single,
around.
so they're not people in committed relationships already. So it's just like I just needed a body to be able to go to this couples thing that I saw, or I wanted to go to this garden,
all the time.
And that definitely happens too. Like when I used to date, I dated with like dating apps and stuff, and like it's the vibes for sure. Like this is just a tick on the box, or this is an experience. Even if the new experience is a new race, a new person, a new city, like there's definitely those vibes for sure. So if looking at it from that perspective, yes, I can understand like what you're hearing when you hear that, especially because their singles is more likely to throw away. Kind of more mentality of it. It's like, I just don't want to be at this place alone, so let me go find somebody to go do this thing with me for. And
because see, like quantum, like why worry when you can have fun? You shouldn't be worried, just live. But what'll happen is I've had calls with friends, like my other friends aren't worried about me. They don't call and check up on me. They don't know where I'm going. They don't ask. People feel negatively about that. They feel when people are not checking in on them, not worried about where they don't care. I don't have an investment in you, so I don't even care where we're going. I just care that we go somewhere. And people know it, they feel it, but they don't have the communication. And thank you, Von Eric. I'll reach out back to you after the show. If you're genuine,
people aren't really connecting. Like I would just say in general, like even in relationships, sometimes people struggle with connection. I know, like Shy Cutie and I stayed with them during the pandemic because I was working in Seattle. So my husband and I and the kids, we all stayed in there. And I remember we were sitting around as couples having this conversation one day about like connection. And they're like, what does that even mean? So some people like aren't even connecting. And I think that's what you're talking about. It's like a lot of doing the stuff, but the connection, a lot of people don't really understand the necessity of connection. Or think it's important, honestly. I just think people don't understand how you make it and why it's important and how to keep it.
Okay. So, like to argue Quantum's point, because I'm about to be pedantic, she's not saying be careless in relationships. She's saying worry. So don't care less. She's saying worry less. Guess what, Quantum? Care and worry are very synonymous. Care and concern and worry are all the same type of anxious thought process. I am considering what is going on with this other person. Worry has more of a negative connotation, like rumination. But if you are not going to worry about somebody, you probably don't care either. Because people that you care about, because we're human and we're mostly neurotic, people that we care about, we typically worry about as well. And if somebody can tell me I'm wrong, if all of y'all care for people that y'all never worry about, I'll shut up. Anybody?
Oh yeah, I be worrying about people sometimes.
Exactly. Yeah, because worry is the extreme form of care. You care about somebody, so then you start to worry, like when stuff. Yeah, so that's just the way humans are set up. So I'm saying you don't have to sit there and be belligerent about the future of the relationship. I'm simply saying that you should be curious about the relationship, because anything that you don't tend to. Go ahead.
I took it as worried about their direction. You know what I'm saying? Like they're trying to figure out when I first saw it, I was like, I'm not trying to figure out what this is.
Yeah.
Like what this, you define the relationship or something. We're just taking it one day at a time. But that's why once you kind of explain what you meant, then I could see like because of it being singles.
And it's a dating
they
app.
haven't, it's the dating app and it's singles. They haven't gotten to the place where you can you should be able to stop worrying about that.
So like
if you're dating somebody.
Yeah, exactly. The intention. I'm dating you.
Yeah.
Why would
if
you
you're
not be
dating somebody,
concerned?
you should be trying to figure out
the whole
like
structure,
maybe
like you talked about structures earlier. The dating app is
Yeah.
a structure to facilitate you to figure out where you and this other person can go. And then you're
Yeah,
saying,
you
I'm not
want a
even worried
dating
about
app
that.
for a
Then don't do
friend.
it on the app. Grab a person from the coffee shop and say, hey, you want to go on a trip? If you're only worried about experiences, either grab somebody at that experience or take somebody in your vicinity to that experience.
That's what I was gonna think. I think a lot of people are just like, you know what I think? I think a lot of people don't have social skills and a lot of like, people skills. So a lot of people, when I was talking about power, like how some men only feel like they can throw their weight around if they make the money, right? There are people who only feel like they can ask things of people if they're fucking them.
Yeah.
Right. Or potentially will fuck them.
Mhm.
So I think a lot of people are engaging in pretending that they want to be in relationships because they're not likable people.
Facts.
They don't put themselves into even friendships. They don't give enough in real life to actually get anything back. And so, the only space they find that they can get any kind of thing that they desire or anybody to look at them is if they're fucking them. I think that's why a lot of people are on a lot of these apps and they're not really looking for relationships. They're just not good people.
Yeah. I'm definitely with you. What's up, Greg Bryant and Reckless Ray De Niro? Appreciate y'all. If there's somebody else I forgot to greet, man, forgive me. I don't think I missed anybody else, but charge it to my head. So where were we? Egoism.
Yes.
Egoism. So we just talked about people that they care more about the experiences than the relationships. Again, my interpretation. Bree had a different interpretation, and we kind of work through that. But egoism is a doctrine that individual self-interest is the actual motive of all conscious action. If you're aware, you're looking out for yourself. Uno, nuno. Number one. It's a doctrine that an individual self-interest is the valid end of all action. So anything you do is valid if it serves your self-interest.
Thank God that we got ethical egoism after this because we already saw the problem with that. They was like, hold on, we need some ethics in here. But as it's first stand, it was like there's egoism and then there's ethical egoism, which I'm more like, yes, ethical is important, but not in this version.
Yeah. So then, the second definition, excessive concern for oneself with or without exaggerating feelings of self-importance. So excessive concern. So that's a subjective term, excessive concern. But I think excess is when it interferes with the other aspects of your life. Like as excess and like addiction are things when they start to interrupt your ability to relate to people, to work, to take care of yourself. That's excessive. When it's disruptive, it's excessive. And we have a lot of people whose self-interest, their need to self-love, to self-cope, self-medicate. A lot of that stuff has become disruptive.
Self-medicate.
It's become disruptive to a lot of people. They can't work unless they high or drunk. It's disruptive.
Low tolerance for collaboration. I'm just like, what is this high order of self in this world we live in? It's like Jordan Peterson was talking about something. I think he might have been talking about egoism, but it was like, the main problem with it is like, how can you exist in that state in a world where you don't exist by yourself? Like, it's just weird.
Yeah. If
so
that's
like
the only
issue with it. Yeah.
Yeah, if that's the only principle that you operate on is self. Am I served?
Right.
Do I have what I want? If that's the only principle that you run off of, you're going to run into other people that also, which is why that was my connection and relationship thing, because other people also have a self-interest too.
Right.
And sometimes those self-interests conflict. And you have to have an ability to negotiate and resolve that conflict. Otherwise, there is no progression of the relationship because that's going to be a barrier.
Yeah, if they're the ops though, like I don't think you can If they are literal opposition, I don't think you can move forward with that.
If they're a literal op, but I was pointing back to the dating app thing. But even with a literal op, there are treaties.
Yeah, but I mean,
there are negotiations that can
yeah,
be
no,
had
you,
even
yeah,
with
we
ops.
talking about, yeah, but I'm just saying in a relationship or life, like you wouldn't, if somebody the ops, leave them alone.
Oh yeah, if it's an individual person that's the op, but
Like,
again,
they
let's
like
be
a
real though.
direct opposition,
Sometimes the
yeah.
person that's in opposition to you, sometimes it's somebody you can't get away from, like a boss.
Yeah,
You've already
yeah.
married the person that maybe
I was just
y'all
only
become ops
speaking
over
in
time.
relationship,
Yeah.
only in a relationship, like a personal, like romantic relationship.
I got you.
Yeah.
I'm with you. If self is solid, then you can build with others. I agree with that. But quantum, like when I talked about depth versus superficiality, some people stop at thinking the only person they need to take care of is themselves when we say stuff like that. So I'm trying to just include language that makes us understand that we need to think about not just ourselves, but the others that also have a self.
Right.
Yes. Yeah. So
I think that's where the
get you.
self-interest
You're right.
comes in, like self-interest, like at the ends, just the ends of the self-interest
As long as I got what I
the
want.
means. Yeah. So self-interest can be problematic, and I don't think one can exist. I don't think people, like, if you are not, like, I think people who really exist that way find themselves in trouble. I have a hard time believing anybody could really exist in that way, besides toddlers, but they always in trouble. Like, I really don't think, even someone who might say that they do everything for self, I don't think that that's really possible.
You don't think so?
I don't know. No, I mean, people who have like personality disorders, like, psychopaths, social, people with personality disorders. Yes, absolutely. Yes. But like, let's say neurotypical people who like exist with other people and have relationships. No, I don't think that that's possible to exist that way. Not fully.
If you're neurotypical, I don't even think your inclination would be to only look after for your own interest. But I'm with you.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just think it would be really hard.
Because everyone around us, they feel, whether it's intuitive, if they feel it, or they know it through patterns of behavior, they respond to what our internal compass is. So if you're only interested in yourself, nobody's really even going to correct you a lot of times, unless somebody truly cares for you in a certain way. Or like Bree said, you got an op. You got somebody that hates you enough to tell you, but not everybody will. Some ops will let you fall on your face to learn. And some people that love you will let, like, I'm gonna love them from a distance, or I'm gonna give them that tough love. Some people won't even tell you when you're out of whack, when you're solely self-interested. It's like some people will let you learn the hard way, but I've seen these people when they go into their self-interest, self-love, everything's about me. When nobody else is left around them, they don't know why. Because they've understood that principle that people keep saying about self. They've understood it as to only be worried about themselves, and not like Quantum is saying to make sure you're good first, but then you check on the people around you, your community, your tribe, the people who are checking in on you. If you're not checking back in on them, everybody gets tired of that. Nobody wants to be used. Like, very few. Some people, maybe there might be a few that enjoy that, just pouring out, but most people, your couple get empty.
Yeah.
The biggest obstacle you will ever face in life is yourself. Don't let you get the best of you. Yeah, that's the truth. Yeah,
that's true.
buddy.
That's why I don't know. That self-interest only thing could be bad, because all the sides of the self are not for even your own best interest. I feel like sometimes, based off like where we actually live, I feel like there are sides of you that just are not out for your best. Like, what is even your best interest? That can just depend on how you feel. That day. So I don't know. Yeah, that's just a very dangerous, only the self being the checker for the self and the judge of the self and the jury for the self. That's bad. That's all bad.
Yeah, it gets tough. But that's also why a lot of people are talking about everybody's a narcissist. Like that narcissism language is creeping up, because what they're picking up on is all the egoism.
Yeah.
The people who believe that, let me just bring up that definition. That's what they're talking about. They were always about themselves and they were only worried about themselves. Where's the definition now? I went down the video.
Everybody for self.
They're self-interested. Their motive, everything that they did, like the whole Risa Tisa and Legion thing. Everything he did, every lie he told was a self-interested lie. So everybody wants to call him a narcissist. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. I don't know. But everybody, if you watch any of these dating shows, everybody's dated 2, 7, 39 narcissists. I had somebody I collaborated on this channel with before who said they married 2 narcissists. They got married twice and both of them were narcissists. How many narcissists can you run into? Are all of them dating and marrying the same narcissists? Because there aren't that many narcissists, but unfortunately, we do have a culture that does. We don't have a word for it, but now we do. It's egoism.
Yeah.
It's a philosophy. It's being groomed into us. Self-interest is an actual and valid motive for all of our actions. It's our motivation, self-interest. It's what's hidden in this capitalism. Self-interest. I got to get the bag. I need this. I need that. I want this. I want self-interest. It's about me. So that's the thing that we're losing, that this out of control individualism.
It went from individualism to egoism, because individual it's like self-reliant.
Yes.
That's different.
Yes.
Than self-interest, because even to become self-reliant, you may have to go along to get along. You might have to yield. You may have to collaborate. So yeah, we've gone from, I think, individualism, true individualism to egoism. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so we done flipped isms, but I'll be tripping.
We done switched isms.
I'm a socialist. I believe in socialism. So I want to ask a question to Bree to make sure I'm not too far off. Is there a universal morality, or are we struggling to match incompatible values?
Is there a universal morality?
Yeah, because we've had these conversations with people. I would say people of faith. I'll use that term. And
okay,
there
I'm
seems to be this belief.
Mm-hmm.
There seems to be this belief that there's one common good that everybody knows.
Okay.
It's common sense. Everybody knows that this is right and this is wrong.
Oh, those
common
shoulds.
sense.
Yeah,
those shoulds. Is there truly a universal morality? Or do we all have a bunch of different values coming from a bunch of different places, and we're trying to make those match without anybody communicating about what those are, or even knowing themselves what those are?
Like you can't, like for me, I don't think you could say you have a universal morality, because morality starts from a lower level than the universal level. That made my head hurt. So like morality was right or wrong kind of like is determined by the group, is a very human 3D idea. Like right or wrong is a very material world idea. That's the way I'm going to say it. Okay. And so it's not, it wouldn't have a universal overarching thing, because right and wrong changes depending on the crowd, I think. So I don't think there's a universal overarching right or wrong. The closest you can maybe get to it is like, but there still needs to be, it's so tied in with the 3D world because we're the interpreters, we're the observers, right? So like it doesn't exist until we observe. It's like the observer effect kind of thing. So like without us to interpret it, the time of the passing of time, watching something happen, passing time, saying, was this good or bad, right? And on what level was this good or bad? I think Homath was talking about that on the live the other day. Like he did drugs. So it's like, okay, let's decide if this is a moral thing to do drugs. How would we do that? Okay, there's like the aesthetics of it and then the long-term effects of it in essence. So it's like, well, you feel good in the moment, but then later maybe you're this way. And then after a time, maybe it makes you sick and then you can't maintain relationships. Maybe you steal from people. Then we would decide, okay, drugs are bad. Okay, right? So I think morality is very tied into the human experience. So I don't think that there is an overarching one, which is what makes it difficult. But that's why shoulds are difficult for me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I've definitely gotten to that place. But I want to play this quick 2-minute video.
Time we have here. One useful way to explore this is by comparing the thoughts of 2 different ancient Chinese philosophers who both recognized the capricious nature of the world. Mozi, a carpenter and of fairly low social status, emerged as a prominent thinker who would advise several powerful leaders in China. Mozi preached a philosophy of love and introspection, and rejected the idea that rituals were of any use. In fact, Mozi believed that society was not suited for human flourishing. Instead, society should encourage people towards believing that the world is made up of a clear sense of right and wrong. This does not mean that he actually believed that the world was coherent or predictable, but rather that we should construct a society that sincerely believes it to be coherent. Mencius, a disciple of the famous Confucius, agreed with much of what Mozi had to say. He also agreed that the world was largely unpredictable. However, he also feared that Mozi's world of reward and punishment could train everyone into making decisions based purely on self-interest. It would be a society of profit-driven, selfish individuals. Rather than artificially constructing a world of right and wrong, Mencius instead advocated for people to understand and accept that the world is in a state of perpetual disorder.
So,
Oh yeah,
they
he was
talked
right.
about this a long time ago. Yeah, having the right or wrong system where people are worried about punishment and reward creates people looking out for this. Every decision you make has to be oriented towards maybe that's getting you to heaven, or maybe your right is being married and having a family, or whatever you have determined is your good. You have to seek the rewards from that and avoid the punishments, whether that's stigma or divorce or going to hell, whatever. Yeah, whatever the negatives are and whatever the positives are. That way of thinking, that mode of thinking was predicted to turn out and point towards egoism, rampant self-interest. And here we are.
Here we are. Well, I guess he was right. Somebody go tell him.
Let's dig that man up.
dig that man up. Let him know he was right. He was right.
Yeah,
I think that's the whole idea of like in the Christian thought of the law being written in their hearts and stuff like that. I think when you really realize that everything is kind of chaotic, nature is like chaotic, you know. I think you're better off for it to some degree, but I know for some people that's like not a fun feeling because a lot of people a lot of people want to be grounded in something. They need to feel like they know what's gonna happen. So I think that's not realistic to think you could get the mass majority to lash on to chaotic, like the chaotic nature without then some swinging to dark acting out in dark ways.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do need the comfort of like believing that there's a right and a wrong. Like there can't be like this ambiguity, because I struggle with ambiguity. So the unknown of not having a right or wrong, I think causes anxiety in a lot of people. So that system does make people feel comfortable knowing like yes, no, perfect. It's a really simple answer.
I know what I'm doing. I know where to go. Yeah, you need that though. Like some people need that. Like I think this is what Blaze is saying. Like
some people need the system to keep them in check. They're the sheep. They're sheep, so they need the simple system to
or
know
to
orient themselves.
That's what he's like. The laws for the lawless. Like without this, it's just some people out here. If there wasn't some concrete, this is right or wrong, people just be out here doing all kind of like. There are people that the law in these things that are in place that says this is wrong is keeping them in check. So those people need it.
Yeah, they need it, but like again, like the guy was saying, he said you should construct something where people believe there's a right or wrong, but it's going to lead to self-interest. It's going to lead from people believing I want to do what's right, what's wrong, I want to follow the rules, and it's going to slide to people. I'm just worried about what I want, and I don't know. I don't have the full text. I have to go back to the video. I can't remember his full context of why he thought that, or even if they even explained it out in the full video. But it's interesting to go from I want to do what's right and wrong to I just want to do what I want.
Well, because it's because of the reward system at its core. The idea of it, right, is you do this thing you don't want to do only because at the end of it you get this thing you want. So at the end you're still only doing it because that's what you want.
Yeah,
like,
that's fair.
You know,
you're
for my
avoiding
toddler.
Punishment and seeking reward.
Yeah, like she
so
don't want to do her schoolwork. She don't
Yeah.
want to do her schoolwork. So her teacher came up with this thing. It's like a reward system, and we played around with the idea, but ultimately I decided to not use it. So yeah, I don't
tied to that.
Yeah, because it's like, what doesn't she like about it? I don't know if it's just a little bit of me in her. She's demand avoidant. I'm not really sure. or she just really hates maybe the style of it, or maybe there's something there that's making her not want to do it. I'm more curious about that. And I think if I put the reward system in place this early, she's only 5. I think it will be setting her on a path to be very like stimuli seeking, self-interest seeking.
Okay.
And I would rather her understand that you need to do your work because it helps you.
There's work to be done.
There's work to be done when you go to the school. This is like the teacher has this going on. When you don't do your work, you disrupt her. I'd rather her be a more bigger picture person.
The role in society as opposed to
Like, this is what is happening when you're not doing your work versus let me give you treats if you do it.
I got you.
Something like that.
I know incentive work for my nephew. I get it, and he's still incentive based to this day. So I mean, it does kind of develop a pattern. But I think also sometimes we're tapping into the pattern that's already we're already noticing it in the people. Because I don't think if I had just been like, you got to do it, it wouldn't have made it easier. It still would have been a fight every day. The incentive
it's gonna be a fight.
A social soothing, like a social pacification. It's like what we're saying. Some people just need something to carrot or to stick for to act right.
I think like when she gets older, like my oldest, I kind of have to do that a little bit. She's a little older, and so but I think we have a better feel now of like why she struggles versus you start doing that with a 5-year-old. Like, you're kind of setting them on a path. Very early. Like I think before 7, before you even start to get to temperament, like really understanding their temperament as a person. I just think it's kind of like too early to send her on that path. Yeah.
I'm with that. I'm going to play this next video. You're going to tell me what you think. This one is from the Karen Hunter show, which I do tend to watch from time to time.
I would ask the audience today to do is to pull back and take a larger look at how people got into what they are into. I mean, dominating, masochism, sadism. I mean, and what that means is I either like giving pain or I like receiving pain or some combination of that. And so I would ask us to really question, how did anyone get attached and addicted to either wanting to harm sexually? Because sexual violations are usually not sexual in nature. They're about power.
I was going to say,
it's about power. It's about dominating someone.
So it's what I can get people to do these things, and that's the get off.
It is. Not only can I get them to do it, but they're terrified of me. And so if you feel small as a person, if you were made to feel small, if you were raised being told that you're nothing, and you become, quote unquote, something, a lot of money, a lot of access to things. Part of what people move into is not just access to toys and cars, but they begin to use people as if they are part of the chessboard of their own power.
And I thought that was interesting coming off the, they were talking about that off of the Diddy conversation.
I'm about to say, Diddy, that you?
Diddy.
Yeah.
But I wanted to get your take on that as far as domination. The insecure part is the only thing that tweaked my ears, because I think somebody that's secure, that just doesn't have anything else, no other challenges, could still slip into some of that. I don't think.
Yeah, I wonder if she was
slide into that.
I think so. I'm assuming she was maybe talking about sadistic doms, maybe.
Yeah.
Specifically, because she said dominating. She said it like dominating, sadism, masochism. She said it like with a comma in between. But I think she's specifically talking about a sadistic dom, which I guess people with sadistic personalities, like something had probably happened to create that, enjoying harming others in order to get off from it. But then there's like I was reading something about everyday sadist, like sadistic tendencies in everyday, like do people who are sadistic doms like do this sadistic stuff outside of the sexual realm, and some don't and some do, they said. But the ones who do it outside of it, then it's more indicative of like something probably happened to make you that way. So yeah, I thought it was interesting. I guess we're assuming Diddy is probably a sadistic. Yeah, he's definitely a sadistic personality, or he just has some literal personality. That's the other thing. Like, I don't know. She was using kind of like BDSM, like lingo, but then like, if a person has a dark triad personality or a personality disorder, then you know what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that's probably more at play. Because there are people with kinks that don't have personality disorders and don't do evil things to people who don't consent and don't want it. So I don't know. It just felt convoluted there. I would assume Diddy probably has some kind of personality. You know, like there's something more than this sexual thing. I always thought maybe he was a sexual deviant either. More so than, you know, this or that. So I don't know. It was hard listening because, you know, I like a little.
Yeah, you be dabbling in the dark. Yeah, you be in the dabbling in the dark.
I like a little dumb, you know. So not a sadistic one though. So I think there's differences. So I don't know.
Yeah, I think to your point, I think diving into earlier, one of the things you said we need to talk about as far as sexuality. That's one of the reasons, because we start to think that anything that's outside of what's accepted, we think that all of it is wrong by default. Like there's the right wrong switch is straight. Vanilla, missionary, sex. Nope.
I was a little
oral.
Triggered because she was like, they get off on. Well, she said get off on harming people, so I guess she was like kind of weird. But I'm like, there are people who get off on things other than genitalia smacking together when they go into the bedroom. So like, it's not weird that there are people who they're playing with the psyche or involving the mind is the highest order of sexuality for them versus the genitals. So I think that's like, it was just a little, I'm hearing, you know, I got to auntie things also. So it's just, they certain age and they start talking, I hear certain, see a little face. I'd be like, I don't know. I don't know. I might be a little triggered. Let me just, I was like, let me
but again, that goes to what we were talking about earlier. They picked a structure and a mindset that was aligned with the values that they adopted. Like they adopted a very like a modest set of principles and values, and they're trying to police and enforce that set of values. So I mean, although some people have expanded to another set of values, that's kind of the conversation that we're having. Where does the value shift and set? Who gets to determine what that is? But I did get a cash app from Greg Bryant who said self-love is a lie.
You know how long the ism been around?
Yeah.
The ism probably been around longer than the Illuminati. But we have different rituals. You know, it's always a ritual to a secret society that we live in. Ism is a secret society. It's a culture, it's a vernacular, and it takes money. Yeah. You have to have money. You have to have choosing fees to get with that pimping.
That's right. Thank you for the choosing fees, Greg. Thank you for choosing us. I just think he's the leader and he used sexual stuff to fight the demons. Can't just do these things and sleep well at night. That's the universal law. Okay. I'm gonna play this next clip. Bree, you tell me what you think about that, man. Again, thank you, Greg Bryant.
We, meaning I'm talking about the nation, that is in denial about many parts of our shadow, doesn't want to own that it has produced a culture of sexual addicts. Because that's what we're talking about. This isn't somebody, you know, having sex with one or two people who are their peers. That's why when you have callers and they're saying, well, these are consenting adults. No. Usually not. That's not who predators pick. They don't pick an adult. They pick someone who is vulnerable and who is afraid. And I also hear, and Karen, I know you've heard this on the show, you and I have heard this, where women are being blamed and saying, well, you know, they did it. They should have known better, or they were for sale, and there is some, we as women do have to look at what we are seduced by. And I don't mean sexually, I mean power and money, and not recognizing that there is a price for giving yourself to someone who wants to enslave you. And we've seen this with with so many celebrities. But the truth of the root of this cancer, if you will, this addiction, is to look at what it is that we are really subsidizing, because it is not sex. Again, it is a way of exploitation of human beings. That's what this is about. It's about power. It's another way to take marginalized people who are on the fringe in some way, and use them to build your own insecure self up. And we don't want to look at that. We don't want to see, how did we become drugs, guns, and sex addicts in all three areas?
Damn, not addicts.
Addict. She said you were addict. Real quick, Quantum said self-love is master. Greg said it's a lie. If self-love is real, why is nobody happy alone? They're with the person they love the most. It's a lie. Told to sell books and tennis shoes. Ooh.
Not tennis shoes. How did tennis shoes get in there? He like, how I get in it? I'm just tennis shoes.
So,
but yeah.
Before I say something controversial, what did you think about that clip?
He said before I say something. I mean, she's talking about America's sex addicts and all that stuff. Okay.
Sex, drugs, rock and roll, all that good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I guess she was like, it's all a power thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, but we already knew that, right? We don't know that. We pretend we don't know that. Is that what she's saying? Like, most people don't know?
But we mentioned it earlier. Most people aren't aware that they're talking about and playing in power dynamics.
Okay.
Most people think of something else, like I'm trying to get a record
Christian
contract.
Okay. Yeah.
There's their facades that lead that are over top of power.
Yeah.
Like if there was a word, like if there was a word, like if reality was like the Matrix and everything was those green words, there's Windows 95 over top of that. So everybody sees the icons. They don't see like the green print that's telling you, hey, this is power, power, power. They say, no, I'm looking to be famous. Or no, I want to have a lot of money, or I want to be successful. I want a high paying job. They don't see the word power underneath those.
Yeah, but I think if you're talking about the structure of capitalism, I guess she's saying has created this. Maybe capitalism. Like, that's kind of what I want. Like, if I'm capitalist, top of the pyramid, capstone, that's what I need. That's what I want. Like, so I'm not under, like, I mean, I guess that's what she's saying. Like, we need to understand that this is just built into the system. So we should. I mean, maybe, but then not really. Because if, like, it's kind of, I struggle with, okay, so we capitalist or not? Because if I'm capitalist, I don't want the people to know that, because I need my sheep and I need my mental slaves to be pliable. That's why Socrates died. I don't want them to know they self.
Don't want them thinking for themselves.
They're going to know this D that I'm going to put on them whenever I feel like. I mean, it's just capitalism. I don't understand. So I'm just kind of like, yeah, girl, but no. Because if it's capitalism, like, no, I don't want them to know they're self. I don't want them to know that they're weak. You know, you got to make them feel like they're not weak. So I want them to feel like, you know, you in control.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And dead up to your eyeballs and stressed out.
Yes, but it's your money.
Patches,
the credit card has your name on it.
You're going
and
on
you
vacation.
Own a house, even though you really don't, because if you don't make that payment, it's going to be mine. Yeah.
7.5%.
Right. You don't really own it. Really. So, that's what I want. It's great. Everything is awesome.
Right.
I just find it weird. Yeah.
Nah, it's because we're running multiple scripts. This is when a long time ago I talked about we run multiple scripts, and this is how we do it. Like, no, that was not trying to get yellow out of the bushes. This is how we run the script, because one is capitalism, and we want the trappings of capitalism, but we also want to feel humane and decent about it because of our Christianized ethics. So we want to feel like good people while taking their money. We want to feel like good people while absorbing attention and not giving any. We want to feel like good human beings while getting asymmetrical value. So we run dual scripts. So a lot of the things we say we're doing, we have some kind of altruistic intention for, but it's self-serving. So I'm trying to get the bag so I can put all my people on. But
right,
do you, you know what I'm saying? But do you really care about all your people? I do.
yeah,
But
yeah.
that's some of the stuff we say. Or like me and Yellow be going off about the Kendra show all the time because they'll be like back-to-back sentences. They'll say something. I want a God-fearing man, but I'll be out here, and they'll say something real wild and raunchy. It's like, so why you want a God-fearing man? Because a God-fearing man wouldn't want you doing that. And you, even if you was just doing it before you met him, like if you out here doing all this, ain't no God-fearing man going to want to deal with that. So it's like, what are we really saying? And it's because we're talking from both sides of our neck, I guess is the way people say it.
Because she ain't saying nothing.
But one of the things I wanted to point out, when she said marginalized, and this is why I want to talk about power, people like Puffy, people at the top, there's a top margin too. Like everybody thinks of marginalized as the people at the very bottom. But there are other margins. Like if you look at a page and you look at the margins, there's top, bottom, left, and right margins. Right. So as much as we want to talk about the people who have the least power, the people who have the most power also are in a margin. They're marginalized. They can't live like the normal people do.
They fucking don't. Which I know you had that Umar thing, but I'm like, the affluent culture is different. Yeah, and that's why I was also thinking when she was talking, I'm like, girl, Diddy is over there in affluent culture and they be doing all kind of foolishness different. They some devious. Oh, girl. That's what I was thinking.
I think you should make the distinction between market economies and unchecked capitalism. That's what the chat's for, Greg. Throw it in the chat. But the other thing I wanted to say, and this is one that I'm more reticent to get into, but we had this conversation. And she mentioned it. That's why I'm going to get into it. She mentioned it, so I'm going to get into it. Because I think it's something else where we do not like to talk about a lot. And I know she was even hesitant when she was saying it. But she said, as women, we need to look at what we are seduced by.
Okay.
Which is still putting it on the backs of men. Because I've been having this patriarchy argument for a while now. And I'm going to bring this back to at the beginning where I said everybody's predatory. If you're pursuing fame or money or attention, you're a predator too. And because you're hunting differently, if you're using your sexuality or your talents to gain something for yourself, you're also a predator, which is why I also think people have a problem. I would say on the top end, if I'm a human being, they know people are pursuing them. People go out of their way to put themselves in front of these people. They go out of their way to meet a Puffy or an R. Kelly or another producer or a director. People go above and beyond to get their favor, to get their attention, to get them to listen. That's a seduction as well.
Right.
This is still a person with a psychology. And people are constantly trying to impress upon you, to pull upon you. People are not immune to that. So I wanted people to we always think of the one side as a victim and the other side as a perpetrator. But both people are perpetrating an action on the other. And there may be an imbalance in social power, but just because one person is hunting and the other person is trapping, they're both still catching something.
Right.
It's just how you're catching it. So I really wish people would get out of that mindset. That
I think it's even fair to say that when you start talking about power dynamics, both sides are looking for power.
Yeah,
it's just how it plays between the two. Like Esther says,
the expression
it's a figure
of it.
eight.
It's the expression.
Yeah, it's a figure eight, right? So I do this, you do that. I do this, you do that. That's but both sides. That's what you're talking about. The person who seeks the person, the one side sort of power, is usually seeking another sort of power, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so Diddy has the power to do this, but then as the person who's linked to him, you have the power to sway him, which means you kind of have a little bit of power. So everybody who's engaging in power dynamics wants power.
Yeah.
And
I wish we could be honest about that, because they keep trying to line everybody as a victim, because they kept doing it. I'm sorry. I refuse to take full call. Now, what Diddy did, he's responsible for. So do not mistake what I'm saying, because people like to do that little word game thing. If somebody does something illegal, they're 100% responsible for the things that they do. But we all put ourselves in compromising position because we're after something. We are after something. And if we're after something from somebody who is dangerous and they've shown themselves to be dangerous and we still keep pursuing something, we have compromised ourselves in pursuit of something. And then we get to fall back to the victim because they have more social currency. I was victimized. I promise you, there's one lady, she was a cop, was having sex with 5 other cops, including people who were higher up on the ladder. She was trying to get her husband to get involved in a threesome. She had threesomes with some of the other cops and their wives. She sued and won $500 million. Oh, I think it was 500 million or 500,000. I don't know. She won a bunch of money. 1,000 versus million is a big difference, but I remember she won 500 something, 500,000 or 500. I think it was 500,000. But she was willfully engaged in these activities over a long span of time with people who were outside of the police force. That's not a victim. You're engaged in an activity. There's a difference between somebody who's a victim who had no control in the situation.
Yeah, she was seeking. She was actually seeking out people actively.
Exactly.
So I would think that's a predatory behavior.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. Like, there's a difference between somebody who's victimized, who didn't have an opportunity to say no, didn't have time, not show up.
Yeah.
Who are even coerced. Like, my boss kept pushing me into a situation I wasn't involved in. But if you're after hours and you're trying to go home and get your husband involved, come on now.
But she played the card, because once again, the only thing that got her, that's according to whoever judged her, that the only thing that saved her was the rule of the structure she was doing it in. That's why she got the money.
Because she's
that's why I said it's like it's all relative. But in a corporate structure, if a higher up sleeps with someone lower than them, that person, they win. So she just, in the structure she did it in.
Yeah,
the person who was above her, you wasn't supposed to be smashing people lower than you, and you were higher, so you have to bear the responsibility of that. And so that's that's crazy to think, but that's why it's all
we need
relative.
we need to update our value sets because things are changing. Our society is changing. The things we pursue and who pursues it is changing. So I think just because the trappings of power, that can't be the sole determination anymore. But I'm gonna play this next video from the Karen Hunter show.
Them to also think about who's going to check me, boo. I mean, see, that question is also for you to ask, who is going to check me about what I'm doing and how I do it? And I mean, who's going to check me, boo? And if we don't have somebody that can check us, and if we can't check ourselves, we end up with just what we have.
The problem, though, is what we have has gone unchecked for 30, 40 years, right? So then it became the norm. Here's the problem, right? So not only was it the norm, it was rewarded, right? So if those of us who have always been observers, because I've always kind of been in a seat of observance of what was going on, almost like a record keeper, you in your mind, you're like, somebody's gonna stop this, right? Somebody's gonna stop this. This can't. And then you see they get invited to the things, and then they get awards, and then they get contracts, and then they get money, and then they're elevated. People die, and then they get elevated again. And you're like, wait, so there's a reward for this? So the message now is this is the norm. And everyone who's not doing this, there's something wrong with you, right? If you want to live your life a certain kind of way, you're corny, or you're, fill in the blank, because they got a lot of names for people. You're a simp, or you're this, poor Russell Wilson, look at, he's corny, he's a simp because he's in love with his wife and he wants to get married before sex, and this is but if your future, that's great. How many babies mamas, and even that, we have terms for that, and we celebrate it as if that's our culture and that's normal. And it's not normal, but then there's the defense, because if you're doing it, you don't want to be checked. So you're like going to defend it with every fiber of your being, because then you have to you're responsible for that behavior. if there's something wrong with it, then there's something wrong with you.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's admitting that. So you're the person that's bringing it up is the problem, not me who's doing the behavior. We got to sit with that.
Yeah, well, I wanted to include that, Brie, because this is something where we all got to this is where we need to take accountability. Like as individuals, I know we're doing our best and we're trying to, do what's right, blah, blah, blah. But this thing right here, this is the confidence cycle. Now, somebody does an action and it says they see success. Success is relative. But if they get positive feedback for the things they do, even if that thing is harmful, like she was saying, you get contracts and people, if you keep rewarding, if you understand this, everybody understands it with children. If you reward bad behavior, they're going to keep doing the bad thing. If you keep giving attention to children when they do something that they shouldn't have done, and you like give them a treat, they're going to keep doing it. You can positive and negative reinforcement is a psychological tool, and it's effective. So that's what they were talking about: positive and negative reinforcement. We keep giving positive reinforcement to people who are doing bad things, so they gain confidence. That's why when people talk about people who are doing, they escalate. Things escalate. Oh, that worked. Let me keep doing it, or let me do more of it. We have to be more aware, because that's our duty. That's our duty to be more attentive and step in.
I have a.
Let's go. Go ahead. Come on.
Because I was going to say, like, I think the problem is a lot of people are delusional and don't really know. Like, you have to think about first before you start trying to talk about. She's talking about right or wrong, which already tells me, girl, you in over your head. Because first of all, you got to understand the currency. The reason why the toddler will keep doing the bad things, what is the currency? It's attention, right? But what some parents think is the currency of a toddler is their praise, right? So if you think that you're in a currency where the highest order for your toddler is your praise, then you would not understand that that even if you give them attention when they're kicking their feet on the floor, they're getting what they want because they want attention.
No such thing as bad press paradox.
Yeah, you read it in the wrong currency. So that's what I kind of hear when she's like, you thinking she's looking at the Christian model, not even Christian. I'm struggling with that, but she's not looking at the Christ gospel model. She's thinking that when people say Christian, she's talking in a very religious Christian worldview for me. Christianese, yeah, because you're assuming that these people are doing bad things and being rewarded. But what were they doing it for in the first place? So, like, if a person isn't doing something to be seen as good, then that's why it doesn't really matter if it's good. And that's why they would be rewarded even if it's not good, because you on the wrong system. So, like, that's my whole thing. She seems to be trying to hold him accountable in a system where he ain't even using that currency.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, like, Diddy's not out here trying to be a good person. Like, Diddy's not out here trying to be the Christ or upstanding citizen. His currency is different.
He's playing capitalism.
Yeah, he playing capitalism. Yeah.
Yeah, he's not.
So,
playing,
like, the more people you subdue and dominate and have under your influence, regardless of their human rights, he's doing great.
Which actually the charges even attest to that. He has people that are willing to do the most dehumanizing things, allegedly, to get access to what he has. He's winning.
Doing great. I don't know what y'all are talking about. Like, so that's what I'm saying. Like, for me, girl, what are you talking about? You're holding him accountable in the wrong system. That's why you confused. So, yeah, it feels weird when people talk about this, because it's like, it's that thing that I see a lot of Black people do, where they just assume that all Black people have the overarching value of Christianity, even if they don't know that they're looking at the world through a Christian lens. Some of these people are people who don't even identify as Christian, but you're still looking at him through a Christian lens. And for God's sakes, even the people who founded America were a different type of Christian. Freemasonry is the same. Like power. It's a power builded and power and all that. So I'd be like, what delusional morality code is she running? That's what I don't get. It's hard for me. It's
No, I
hard
get
for
you.
me.
I get you. But that goes to what I said earlier about we have that dual script. So we have the one script that's running capitalism, but the other script is running pseudo religious or
it's like some weird Christian.
And they're in direct opposition of each other. But that's unfortunately what we inherited. That's what we've inherited. If we're not attentive and we don't, well, what?
Because I see American capitalist Christianity as a thing all together. It's one brand. It's all together. So I think she's very founding father energy right now. Like that's what she's looking at it through. But it's like she's thinking she's looking at it through what's a different subset of Christianity, maybe. Like she thinks she's looking at it through a different way. She might be looking at it through like a, let's just say, Southern Baptist Christianity lens. But it's really, you got to look at it from like an American capitalism. Where did it come from? Who made it? That's the Christian. I don't know. I don't know. It's just hard.
I get you. There's a value set that's not the mainstream value set that she's applying outside of her sector. It's kind of like when we're in the Black YouTube space where there's a lot of people who are like very pro family and pro Christianity, and they apply those sensibilities when they're looking at a panel of Instagram models and OnlyFans models be interviewed by a guy, and you're like, why would you expect them to want a family? They're 22-year-old OnlyFans models, and you're trying to say they should want kids and a family. That's not their value set. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
shout out to Bro C in the building.
Hey. There is no
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah,
it's a mixed match model.
Yeah,
but now this video
that's
is one that, but she is right to the point that we do need to have a code. A man must have a code, but I think people need to spend more time trying to decide what it is that they're after. I know you had talked about this, and it was funny that I had this in my notes when you had said that, when you talked about people finding either creating the structure, which we're too lazy for, or finding the structure that has the values that we're trying to standardize for our life and what we want for the future. So I thought that was great. But this is 4 minutes of Jordan Peterson, guys.
The point I'm making with that is that Socrates attended to this internal voice that at least told him what not to do, and then he didn't do it. And of course, Socrates was a very remarkable man, and we still hear about him today, and we know that he existed and all of those things. And so back to the walking with God idea. You know, as you elevate your aim, you create a judge at the same time, right? Because the new ideal, which is an ideal you, even if it's just an ideal position that you might occupy, even if it's still conceptualized in that concrete way, that becomes a judge because it's above you, right? And then you're terrified of it, maybe. That's why you might be afraid when you go start a new job, right? Because this thing is above you and you're terrified of it, and it judges you. And that's useful because the judge that you're creating by formulating the ideal tells you what's useless about yourself, and then you can dispense with it. And you want to keep doing that, and then every time you make a judge that's more elevated, then there's more useless you that has to be dispensed with. And then if you create an ultimate judge, which is what the archetypal imagination of humankind has done, say, with the figure of Christ, because if Christ is nothing else, he is at least the archetypal perfect man and therefore the judge. You have a judge that says, get rid of everything about yourself that isn't perfect. And of course, that's also what God tells Abraham, right? He says to be perfect, to pick an ideal that's high enough, and you can do this. The thing that's interesting about this, I think, is you can do it more or less on your own terms. You have to have some collaboration from other people, but you don't have to pick an external ideal. You can pick an ideal that fulfills the role of ideal for you. You can say, okay, well, if things could be set up for me the way I need them to be, and if I could be who I needed to be, what would that look like? And you can figure that out for yourself, and then instantly you have a judge. And I also think that's part of the reason people don't do it, right? Why don't people look up and move ahead? And the answer is, well, you know, you start formulating an ideal, you formulate a judge, it's pretty easy to feel intimidated in the face of your own ideal. That's what happens to Cain versus Abel, for example. Then it's really easy to destroy the ideal instead of to try to pursue it, because then you get rid of the judge. But it's way better, lower the damn judge if it's too much. Like if your current ambition is crushing you, you know, then maybe you're playing the tyrant to yourself, and you should tap down your ambitions, not get rid of them by any stretch of the imagination, but at least put them more reasonably within your grasp. You don't have to leap from point 1 to point 50 in one leap, right? You can do it incrementally. But I really like this idea. I think it's a profound idea that the process of recapitulating yourself continually is also the process of, it's a phoenix-like process, right? You're shedding all those elements of you that are no longer worthy of the pursuits that you're valuing. And then I would say the idea here is that as you do that, you shape yourself ever more precisely into something that can withstand the tragedy of life and that can act as a beacon to the world. That's the right way of thinking about it. Maybe first to your friends and then to your family. It's like, it's a hell of a fine ambition, and there's no reason that it can't happen. You know, every one of you knows people who are really bloody useful in a crisis, and people that you admire, right? Those are all, you can think of all those people as you admire as partial incarnations of the archetypal Messiah. That's exactly right. And the more that that manifests itself in any given person, then the more generally useful and admirable that person is in a multitude of situations. And we don't know the limit to that. But people can be unbelievably good for things, you know. It's really something to behold.
Yeah, we back.
All right.
I conked out for a quick second, but I really like what he was saying, because people can be extremely useful. And I think, no Diddy Dose in the building, I think that's important to understand. We were talking about the lady who was talking about who's trying to manipulate you and who has genuine interest. That the difference is people are trying to be useful for each other. We want to be in community. A lot of times we're talking about love or relationships or family. We're looking to be useful and to offer value to people that we know are going to bring that value back to us in some kind of way. It's kind of an exchange in that way. You show up and you keep me company, and then I'll take you to dinner, whatever it is. We look out for people that we care about. That's just something that's in us to want. We want good things for people that give us good feeling. So I think there's something tremendous about that, like he said. But I also think we've started to kind of buck against that. Like the self-interest, the egoism has people where it's diminished. It's, I want to have access to everything that's good about you without having to return any value, because it doesn't interest me to give of myself. It only interests me to receive of everything that you are. And if I've exhausted you completely, I'll move on to somebody else. It's a very parasitic.
Yeah.
It's a very parasitic mentality.
I agree. And I think on there, I said the part where he said people just get rid of the judges instead of like having, you know, people. I definitely feel like, yeah, that's what's happening a lot. Just higher standards are being. Oh, we don't need higher standards. Everything's problematic. Anything that makes you feel lesser is nefarious. You know, it's just like all of that. It just feels like that's where we are now. This participation trophy, everybody's great, everybody's awesome. That means there's no judge, there's no ideal anymore. So, yeah, it just everything he said, it just feels like that's where everybody wants to. There's no standard, there's no judge, there's no ideal. But what does that really get us? Yeah, nobody can check you, nobody's on the same currency system. But maybe we are, but we just don't know what it is. People don't have a awareness that's
conception
the system they're in. Yeah, because it's like a tension, maybe, you know. But
Tension's
people don't
big.
think it's I think that's maybe the currency system. So like that's probably the one we're in, but it's not what people would say, maybe. So yeah, it's just getting weird. Because what I find is if you don't know what system you're on, the judge of that system your shadow picks, and I think that's kind of what the lady was saying. Like, this is the work of our shadow. So the shadow is just kind of having a field day right now because we don't want to acknowledge it.
No, I'm totally with that.
Hey,
I'm gonna play this. No Diddy. I'm gonna play this next one because it's about developing that compass.
Who do you want to be? Like, what sort of person is it that you want to be? Not job. It's like character. What do you want your life to be like? What should it be like? And what shouldn't it be like? And like, write about that seriously, like your life depends on it, because it does. And then I thought, well, that's so weird. Why in the world isn't our education system set up to help people with that? Because it's like, that's kind of obvious, you know? It's like, what are you doing and why? And then I did some reading partly from John Gatto, who's done some interesting work looking at the history of the education system. And it was a derivation of the Prussian education system back in the late 1800s. And it was designed to produce obedient, well, it was partly soldiers, but it was partly workers.
Oh, I was going to say it definitely was soldiers, because that was the transition when they had the transition take place at that time as well, where they moved away from centralized command after they got beat by Napoleon. And they were constantly trying to fight towards that direction where the soldiers would not just be obedient, because they realized that is not what they actually wanted. They finally started to do it at the end of World War I, and if they would have done it earlier, it might have turned the tide of the war. But that was what, that's what World War II, the Blitzkrieg and total decentralized command and elements just going out and making things happen and finding gaps in the defenses and attacking them, as opposed to you're just going to wait until you're told what to do.
Right.
And that was the German way and decentralized command. So
right. Well, competence beats obedience. Right. So you unite people under a goal, and then you let them act autonomously. You got to get them. You got to not sell them the goal. That's not right. What you have to do is you have to go in and talk to them and discover what the goal is of the enterprise and what it is that fires people up. And that really does work. And the idea that capitalism is essentially crooked and it's the people who are pulling the wool over other people's eyes who win is like, well, now and then there's a criminal action and the person gets away with it, so to speak, although people get away with a lot less than they think. But most of the time within a functional company, you better have your people on board or they will do exactly what you said they'll do. They'll spend 80% of their time sabotaging the company.
People will spend 80% of their time sabotaging something that they do not believe in.
Yeah.
Which is why we need to have an understanding we have to choose what our standard is. Like you said, you have to sell it to the people. You can't force them into it. Like our
80% of their time.
Education.
That's crazy.
Our system of education came from Prussia, where it was meant to create obedient soldiers.
Yeah.
So that's why we end up with a lot of bots. And like you said, competence is better than obedience, but we have a lot of incompetent people, but that know how to take orders, which is one of the things the manosphere complains about. Manosphere complains about with the women a lot. You'll take orders from the white man at your job, but you won't submit to me. You know what I'm saying? So I mean, there's that.
why don't they just say you won't take orders from me instead of just trying to pretend something else?
That sounds bad.
But it's what they want. Why are you comparing this to a job? If that's not what you want.
I mean,
you want this to be a job.
But that's what we need to talk about, because underneath that is I want you to take orders from me. But then the woman's often here's the thing: the women often report, because this ain't flattering either. Well, you don't pay. Well, so are you a prostitute now? Are you for sale?
Are you a boss, or are you my romantic partner?
Well, then don't ask. Like if the retort can't be, well, you don't pay me like my boss does, because then you're saying I want this same thing that I want from my boss to give you the same treatment. That means you're for sale.
If you brought us into the realm of corporate, that is gonna be my retort. Because why are you over here? We over here because you brought us over here. You said I listen to my boss, and I won't listen to you. You brought us over here, so now I'm gonna say, well, you cutting the check. I don't know how. But then if they, but if they did, but seriously, but if they did start to cut the check, you still wouldn't obey, because you still don't conceptualize it as in the realm of employment. Yeah, you probably could. So I can go fuck somebody else when I clock out?
You might have a non-compete clause.
A what?
A non-compete clause.
That's
Yeah, I mean, hey, listen. If we're gonna be silly, we're gonna get
no, I'm just
downright
saying,
stupid.
no, but I was just saying, if we go like toe for toe, I'd just be like, okay, so I clock out? Okay, so when my clock out hours
But you won't call. 24/7.
on call 20, that's violating my human labor laws.
But this ain't a real job. This ain't you.
Okay,
if we
so
gonna
then
be-
we go back to the beginning. So why are you talking about my boss then? So why are you
because
talking about
it's
my
a
boss?
comparison. It's a comparison because people talk about they don't submit, but they do.
Yeah.
So it's just the
I know, I get
dynamics in which
paid.
they're
I get
willing
paid
to submit.
job.
Exactly. It goes back to I get paid. See, it always starts with the exact same thing.
If you pay me, can I call HR on you? Who HR?
I mean, that's probably a divorce attorney.
I'm just saying. So yeah, I just, they just say what they mean. You just want to order me around. Then that's a conversation you can have, though.
Yeah,
I prefer people just say what they really want. You can really have it.
But people don't engage with what they really want underneath what they say. Like the terms that they're used for saying, they don't really engage with thought that lies underneath. Like a power. People don't know that they're fighting over power. Or like what is it? There's three categories that Esther Perel calls it, like care and concern, respect, and then there's power. Like there's like three zones that people are looking for, and they don't really acknowledge what it is because it's never like the toothbrush or the toilet seat or something. It's something else that it represents.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They can't communicate what they want underneath. I'm sorry, y'all. I didn't mean to go off on that tangent, but I just really just be like, I wish we could get to a world where if a man said he could just say, I want to order you around. Really? Yeah. I just want to tell you to do stuff and you just do it.
But then the truth is going to happen that they don't want that all the time. Because like they said, competence is better than obedience. But a lot of times, not trying to be funny, most of us haven't experienced either one.
Okay.
Like we haven't experienced the competence or obedience. So it's like they're looking for one or the other. And you're going to look for the easiest one to manufacture, which is obedience. Okay. People be scared to communicate honestly.
I mean,
I want a woman who was a pain in the ass personally. Yeah, exactly. And that's what's going to happen to most of these dudes if they got somebody who they get bored and they're actually going to end up cheating on it. It's a hot mess. But again, that's because we don't investigate what's underneath what people say.
Yeah.
Let's get to the root with me. Shit.
Yeah. Damn. Just say you want it. God damn it. So I can tell you no straight. I mean, if I'm gonna say no, I'm gonna say no.
And that's the problem. Then you're gonna say no.
Okay, then you got a fear of rejection, Buki, and you need to work on that. But you doing all that other stuff still. I'm saying no in a roundabout way. Then we wasted the whole time having an argument. You could have told me, I just want to tell you what to do and you listen. Well, I could just tell you straight on that's never gonna happen. Then you could decide what you want to do after that. Instead of trying to make it about the toothbrush and the sandwich and the this and that. Just say you want to tell me what to do. You want me to just do it so I can tell you no. We can move on.
Defeats the purpose.
But I get you.
If you're gonna say tell me all that just so I can say no to you, what's the point?
Because you're communicating your desires.
You're gonna force me to be vulnerable. You're gonna force me to be vulnerable just to give me the same rejection.
My question is, why should I listen to what someone who doesn't even have the balls to say what they wants me to do all the time? That's my
But if I have the balls, you're still going to say no. If I have the balls, you're still going to say no. So what's the point? You just said go ahead and have the balls to say it so I can say no. That's what you just said.
But that's what I be saying. You see, because they ain't really dominant anyway. The fact that you're asking me, I'm gonna play in your face. I'm gonna tell you no, because if you was a dominant person, we wouldn't be having this conversation right now. You know exactly how to get me to go in there and make you your fucking sandwich when you wanted it, but you don't. See, you're not competent either, and that's why we're having the conversation. And so, no, that's probably not gonna happen because the dynamic that would make that happen clearly does not exist.
It doesn't,
and that's why you're coming here asking me this, and that's why I'm gonna say no.
Of course she's right. Of course she's right.
I'm just saying, like, sometimes you be like, okay. I mean, it's the other way. The same thing happened with women. I want you to be more romantic. Yeah. Tell that woman no. Tell her no. Because the dynamic is not dynamicing. You're coming to me asking me directly. So no. You want more romance, then you're gonna have to do it. Because clearly I'm not feeling very romantic. If I used to be and I'm not, why I'm not feeling that? I'm clearly not. So it's a dynamic issue. It's a dynamic issue. So now you're trying to manipulate it directly by telling me exactly what you want me to do. And I'm an asshole, so I'm gonna say no.
See.
I'm just saying. Sorry, that was
That's called terrorism.
But that's
folks.
a power that's a power dynamic thing.
It is. It definitely is. That's totally
that's
appropriate.
that's
that's
a real
literally
life.
what it is.
Yeah, understanding of power. But that's the struggle of this in real life, dealing with real life people who don't understand it. Is like some people get caught up on I worked up the courage to say what I want out loud, and that's great for you. I hope you continue that journey. I love that for you, because the more you get the balls to say what you want to people, simply because it's a desire, that's gonna be great for you. Now that doesn't always mean you're gonna get what you desire.
Facts.
But verbalizing your desires and actively doing something to try to manifest your desires is a good thing. I love that for you.
Nah, that's facts.
So
nobody 100% right.
Yeah. So yeah, that's
capacity.
Why I had to have that conversation with woman. Oh, I finally worked up the courage to say it, and he said, "No, okay, girl, I love that for you." So next time you want something, you really want something, you should ask. Well, he didn't say. It took me all this time, and he said no. Girl,
Yeah,
okay.
We want rewards for our effort. Everybody wants rewards.
Y'all reward system people be hurting. Look, the reward is knowing you ask for what you want, because you matter and what you want matters. And even if I say no, it still matters. It just don't matter enough to make me do it, but it matters.
It's Quantum. You be making me want to riot all the time. I'm so
why?
It's the language. It's the language. It's like
this
is the same thing as like weak men aren't men or real men. You're not a real man. It's the same thing. If it's a weak leader, and you're you're acknowledging that it's a leader because you called it a weak leader. It's still
there
a
are
leader.
some weak
it's
leaders
just a
though.
Weak leader. Yeah, but it's still a leader. It's just a weak one.
Yeah. Yeah, we have leaders fall all the time to their own vices or anything, and they real weak leaders. So they still, I mean, but I think that's to be like, okay, I think that's to say like that's my responsibility to not engage in structures where I don't agree with the leadership. The people of like I'm submitting to a structure. I try not to submit to a structure where I feel like there are problems with the leadership if I can help it. So bringing up Biden, like Biden got voted in and he got his 4 years. So
didn't he though? He ain't getting another one,
anything though. That's I mean, and so you can't anything short of election day. What you want us to do?
Betty don't get another one.
He said Betty don't get my vote again. That's
so,
all you can
I
do.
didn't even vote for him last time, but now I gotta vote against him.
Yeah, I didn't either, and I'm definitely gonna make sure to do. What do you consider weak? I guess it depends on. I guess he asking Kwame. And once again, weak depends on what kind of structure we're talking about. Some leaders are weak. I've seen.
Biden's weak. Biden's weak, but he's a leader.
He's a weak
Biden's
leader.
weak, but he's a leader. Yes.
Have you ever had a bad manager that just like don't reel it in? Don't like. I had a manager like that. Just chaos. Like,
he is a leader. Okay, I'm done.
Oh Lord, that's word magic.
So
that she trolling.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because see, you have to have people that'll hold you accountable, Quantum, when you're just doing word magic. You got to people tell you that you're tripping. You're tripping. You need a review board. I'm gonna play this clip.
It is. Someone said, I guess Steph Curry isn't Negro enough because he's one of the producers. I don't think this is an indictment on individuals any more so than I've talked about LeBron James producing the Madam C.J. Walker miniseries, which was horrific. It was horrific and historically inaccurate and a whole host of other things. We can like a person and still hold them accountable. And I think there has to be in our community this space, that this is not criticism for the sake of criticism. This is saying, can we do better? Should we do better? And before we put something into the zeitgeist that represents us, that has our melanin on it, should there not be a standard or a film, a
so
place that it has
anybody
to,
can call 1-800-ASK-A-Negro. Like anyone
somebody's
can call.
calling right now. I don't want to even tell them to put that
Call.
number out there because
I will answer
actually
because
all right. Let me see.
555.
No, 555. Ask a Negro. There we
Ask a
go.
Negro. So what I'll say to that is sometimes we have to call too. And we need to bring each other to the mat and say, okay, hold on. Like we need a review board of our own to say, hold on a second. This can be problematic, or this is a problem. Let's see how we can work this out. And I think what happens is, even though we may be producing or executive producing, because that's more than likely what somebody, so just bringing money to the table,
right?
They're not necessarily the writers of this thing. Right.
Or even maybe the ultimate green lighters, right? Because when I asked if it's willful, I don't think it's willful. I think it's like people sat in a room and they laughed and they were like, yes, all right, go do this. Because racism is so baked into the soil, we all walk around and carry these anti-Black images and feelings.
It may not be deliberate for him.
Yeah, so I see y'all having a who's a leader argument in the chat.
We had to go ahead and ground the conversation because y'all is
Man, that's hilarious. Is
y'all
Biden weak because he hasn't really been tested? Before if you would have asked me, Dose, before he even became president, I would have told you that he was weak. His policies and the things that he's participated in, some of the things he's said, all the way back to the busing. I mean, going back that far to busing, was that the 60s or 50s? Going back to then, he had weak positions. So that's why I say he was weak. He's weak now, not just on his policy positions. He's weak now also with his mental acuity on the majority of time. And he's just not there most of the time. So he's weak on more than one capacity now.
And he be falling, so he physically weak.
Yeah,
too.
you know.
He old. Old people be weak.
Yeah. I don't think Biden is up to the task of a test. I think, that God protects babies and fools.
Child.
Ain't no baby.
Child.
Ain't no baby.
Lord, protect us all.
Yeah.
He just
ain't no
having
baby.
mercy
That man ain't
on
no
us.
baby.
He having mercy on us because we got a democracy. He's like, I know some of y'all ain't vote for him, so we just gonna try to help y'all out.
Yeah.
That's
why I couldn't vote for Biden, because when I looked at his policies because he has such a long history in Congress that it's an easy thing to look up the things that he supported for decades.
Right.
Not only that, then the stuff that he would say publicly. So after all that, there was no way, man. He's a weak guy.
Wasn't no way.
Himself and fall down, maybe.
Yeah, he's definitely a weak leader. We've decided that Biden is a weak leader, so they do exist. There are some men that lead their homes and they weak. So I mean, we all know this. You gotta bring it back to the men's.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
You like my saying?
No, I just said that was it. You already know how the men's get down. So I don't gotta say nothing else. I just
that's where I started. Running from them crazy dudes. I know I got on the internet. I'm like, these dudes is crazy.
Yeah,
these dudes is crazy. Then I found out the woman was crazy too.
Everybody.
I didn't know. I thought it was just my family. I thought my family was crazy because all my friends are really, even though some of them have problems, like they running like divorce or something like that. I didn't know they didn't seem crazy. And the people I work with,
you just don't know what type of crazy they are.
I didn't get the experience of crazy because I didn't live with them.
Yeah.
So my family was
or they
crazy.
don't talk
I
enough.
With family. Yeah, I wasn't around them enough. And then I see people online. I'm around these people online. I'm like, man, some of these people are crazy. Like legit crazy. Yeah. Like I'm crazy, my family crazy. Then I get into the world where I'm like 8 hours around people. Those people don't seem crazy, but they mask it for 8 hours. So they probably go somewhere and be crazy. And then again,
that mask come off at the house.
Man, it come off somewhere. I think those are the ones that got on the internet. Somebody else's co-workers are the ones that came and showed me crazy on the internet. And then my co-workers are on the internet somewhere else showing somebody else crazy. So I think that's just how that's how they go. But Bree
Yeah,
and
and
I
I
was
think
talking.
there's some. Oh yeah, I was gonna say
No,
with
go
that
ahead.
mask off. That's why relationships be a struggle too, because a lot of people are unmasking it home, and that's what makes it also
Yes,
challenging.
that's for sure. But me and Bree were talking about also how it's hard to have a review board. It's hard to have people that can check you. It's hard to have that because we're in an increasingly disconnected society where people are not in community with people. Like they might have the person they're in a relationship with, or they might have children, but they almost intentionally sometimes remove anybody that can hold them accountable or that can ask them what they're doing. Like a lot of times we hate criticism. We hate feeling anybody's judgment, especially when they're imperfect people. A lot of times though, people will be trying to hold us to the standard that we say that we want to uphold ourselves. Because I promise you, I think all of us have had this experience. Somebody said they were going on a diet because they were trying to accomplish a weight goal, and then you'll say, "Should you be eating that? Are you sure you want to get that frappe?" And then they look
And
at you
then
funny or say something like,
you get
"Uh huh,
cussed out.
yeah." And it's just the standard that they set, and you're reminding them, you're trying to hold them accountable to what they set for themselves as a good friend or a person that loves them, and
Listen,
you get chewed out.
listen.
Yeah.
I'm triggered. People had you out here. I said that's what I can't kill no more than you.
Mm-hmm.
You can get me roped in.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And people will rope you in, and it'll be a whole lie.
Just an
I'm
emotional
trying to
because
change
it's
my
emotional.
life.
They emotionally trolling you. That's why.
Yeah.
Say stuff to emotionally pull you into their bullshit. She
Oh,
said
shit.
codependent people.
Oh my God.
Everybody a lot of people codependent.
Yeah.
So that's codependent. That's codependency foolishness.
Yeah. Getting that emotional fix, like getting somebody to sympathize with them.
Now
Oh,
making
I
this
think
like
I'm try to put the cake down, fatty.
hit the gym. Do weak
Nah,
followers elect weak
as
leaders?
another fat person, if I say put the cake down, fatty, I'm probably gonna get slapped.
You like you could probably appeal to them. Be like, I know what it's like. I know what it's like. I'm still telling you to put the cake down.
That's
They
too
might
funny.
appreciate it. They might
Do
appreciate
weak
it.
followers elect weak leaders? I think
If
so.
you're a follower, you already in a weaker position. So I
Yep.
mean, I guess it's kind of moot. You picked them. I would say in a democracy though, maybe like more more
I was gonna say
uninformed.
uninformed. Yep.
Yeah, but uninformed is a position of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
Being
Yep.
uninformed. So yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, there's multiple zones of weakness, and where your weakness manifests, that's where your problems are going to come from. Where are you weak at? Like in life, you might be a really good thinker, but you're just physically weak, and so you're probably going to have trouble lifting things. You know what I'm saying? So where you're weak at is where your tests are going to be. Where you're strong at, that's where you're dominant and confident at.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's just the way life is set up.
Oh, that's good. So if something is it like something constantly testing you, that means you're weak in that area. So should you just start swinging on people?
There's two things. You shouldn't
Answer
start
that
swinging on people
carefully.
because again, you're weak in that area. So you start swinging on people in the area that you're weak
You
in,
probably
you
gonna
might get
get
knocked out.
your ass beat. So you
You
should
might
just
get
lean
knocked
into
out.
being submissive. Then, if people keep trying you in that area, you might need to have a moment to say, am I going to get
Again,
stronger, or should I
yeah,
just submit to it?
this goes back to what you talk about. This is where you have to decide what you want in life. Is this where you
Yeah.
is this something you need? Is this area of your life something that's super important? If it's an area of your life that's super important, you either might need to get stronger, which means taking
Or
on more
yield.
challenges in that area. You might
Right.
need to yield because it's just not your thing, or you might need to avoid. Like maybe you need to stay out of this zone. Like maybe this is completely not for you.
Or this structure,
Like
or
cut
this
this part off.
dynamic. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
yeah.
But people just
So,
gonna avoid. I'd be very careful with the avoid because people avoiding everything now. But I do think
but it's a strategy. I'm just saying it's a strategy.
it's a strategy. Yeah, you can't avoid everything. Though.
Yeah. If you're avoiding
You
everything,
just,
that's
you
weakness.
gotta
Like
be.
that's
Yeah,
cowardice.
that's
That's
you
cowardice.
just weak.
Avoiding
So
everything
you
is
just need to
cowardice.
accept you as your submissive role. Yeah, I would say
Probing
he
you
trying
for
to find them
weaknesses.
zones of weakness. That's hot. Somebody say that.
Probe you
Oh,
for
okay,
weakness.
okay.
Yeah.
That's cute. Weakness is good sometimes. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's good to be. Sometimes nothing. Nope. Oh yeah.
Let me
I
see.
have a
Hold
moral
on.
code.
All right, so I think I only got about one video left, but obviously, y'all, we have a faulty system that we're in, and it's hard to check people that have been reinforced by positive feedback from the world and the group they're in. That's where the part we play. We got to not give attention to people for the wrong things. We looked at that. Let me see. No. Okay. Before we get to the next video, how do you think people who are for Black advancement should respond to allegations of criminal activity on the level of sex trafficking, like Diddy
tonight?
So again, somebody that's pro-Black, somebody that's like, I'm for Black people, we want them to be better. I'm trying to teach them.
Right.
Da, 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 da. What would you expect them to say when somebody is charged with sex trafficking?
If someone takes the time to label themselves something, I'm gonna say that's probably the highest order of their value set.
Okay.
So, yeah, I would think that they're gonna struggle to cast the person away, cast them aside.
Okay.
If they
All right.
Black.
Okay, so the skin would be the highest value. The skin color
their race is the highest order. So
above
yeah,
anything
they probably
moral.
above. Yeah,
The
it's
highest
not.
moral good is Blackness. That makes sense. That's
Yeah.
actually not what I was expecting. See, what I thought was calling Blackness to its higher self. I thought that would be the value. But
No, but they didn't say pro higher Blacks.
You're right. And I here's your middle school camp counselor, Bree.
About that is when I look at the R. Kelly situation, when I look at the Bill Cosby situation, when I look at the Sean Puffy Combs situation, what I see is a movement by the white power structure to destroy Black billionaires of influence. And although they may have been guilty of some of the things they were accused of, these takedowns have nothing to do with the crimes they're being accused of. And the reason these takedowns have nothing to do with the crimes that they're being accused of is these crimes, although egregious, are a regular fact of life in the music business, and they are a regular fact of life in Hollywood. So if you were so against the sexual exploitation of women or men or whomever, then why is there not a industry-wide takedown of all the singers and artists and moguls and producers, regardless of color, who were engaged in this? So this clearly is not a crackdown. You're targeting individuals, and you want to see whether or not Black America is going to stand by and help you do this. And unfortunately, as we did with R. Kelly and Bill Cosby and others, we celebrated it. We celebrated the takedown of these Black billionaires. Now, I'm not saying we should turn a blind eye to the crime, but I'm saying our political IQ has to be high enough where we can recognize when we are being played, and we are being played. Bill Cosby was not about no sex abuse.
I'm like, this dude.
This Negro.
So
Yep.
what?
Classic Umar.
Classic Umar. I was like, I would have never thought.
You didn't think he was gonna say? You didn't think he would take that position?
Well, cause see, here's my thing. I still have a piece of I believe in socialist principles. So obviously, I believe in things that I'm never going to see. Right?
Yeah.
I'm a believer.
Must be tough.
Right. So I'm an idealist in some way. I thought, and I actually had this problem with my family. I had this problem with my family because I had a person in my family tell me that they should support me no matter what they did, no matter how wrong it was, because we were family. I should always choose them over what was right. Like literally, we had that conversation, and I'm like,
families ride for that.
On our
All
day
the
today,
uncles.
I can't count on you for basic stuff. And you're trying to tell me I should choose you over what's right. I should know that you did something illegal or wrong or hurt somebody that I cared about, but because they're not family, I got to sit on that simply because we came from the same lineage. But I can't count on you if I ask for a ride or to pay back what you borrowed. Like I'm supposed to ride for you, but you can't even do basic for me. I'm like, that was just ridiculous. But again, I experienced that, and that's what this felt like to me. Like, well, because you're black, we got to protect black first. And I'm like, protecting black to me is removing people that are harmful
Oh no.
out of the equation. Like
No.
cleaning up.
Because the ops is
'Cause-
the other people, the Wahites. So blacks got to be
Man.
protected against the Wahites, not no. That's it. That's the highest order.
Man,
That's why
that caught me off guard. I wasn't expecting that. You was like, no, why would you
I
not
wasn't
expect that?
shocked.
Man, that's crazy.
Yeah, and then I think like later on he said something like he don't believe that Diddy trafficked people he didn't know and brought them.
What?
He's
Well,
like, I
most
believe
people-
he did. I think he did stuff. He was like, yeah, I believe he did some of the stuff. He was like, I believe he did, but he don't believe Diddy traffic because he hears human trafficking charges. And I think what he is playing a little trick with words there and insinuating that the human trafficking charges Diddy are facing are the type where you smuggle humans into the country to traffic them.
Got you.
That is not the human trafficking Diddy
Yeah.
engaged in, but at the same time we had a conversation in Discord about this, and I can see why Umar, who is pro-black, would have a hard time acknowledging that human trafficking can happen. We had some talks about nuance and how is that human trafficking? Well, the law says this is what human trafficking is. But it would be hard for someone who takes the stance that black people have been victimized and they this and this and how it's we're victims perpetually. How can human trafficking is this, not this? So it wasn't shocking. It's just not shocking to me. I wish it was.
And again, although I do get his argument, like, well, if it's wrong, it needs to be wrong across the board.
Well,
Like,
we
there's
talking
some
about
things
Diddy
I
right
wouldn't
now.
step in. Yeah, I wouldn't step in to be like, okay, I'm gonna put my black chip on this one.
Right, because when we try people by law, it's by individuals, unless it's a corporation.
Yeah, I'm like,
So
certain
what
people I
since
ain't riding
when?
for just because they black. I'm gonna be like, you know what, they wrong. Let's go ahead and get them.
But even if everybody was held accountable, it wouldn't be Hollywood versus the state.
Nah, it wouldn't.
It
Because
would
we
be
talk about
the
what's going
people.
on in people's homes all the time.
Right.
Because we
So-
talk about, was it 2 in 4 black girls before they're 18 have been sexually assaulted? And it's
Right.
almost always somebody that they know. A lot of times in the house, a family member or neighbor.
Yeah, and that was what I was picking up when he said that. He was like, I don't believe he trafficked people out of the country, so it's okay to traffic people you know.
It's
So
crazy.
it's like Diddy was trafficking people he knew. Not shocked coming from a pro-black
Man.
leader, because that's their wet dream. Let's keep it real, like the lady said. That's most of their wet dream. Them niggas.
Because he do want 2 wives.
Them Negroes, them poly Negroes who they get a hard on by thinking about them with all their wives. Like all them niggas be trafficking. Like what was that? Nature Boy was one.
Yeah, Nature
It's
Boy.
giving Nature Boy. It's giving it because it's always
Polite.
that's where it always fucking ends up. Exactly. That's why he can't sit here and say it's bad, because that's most of these pro-black men wet dream. And I'm gonna just say it to human
Okay.
traffic, as long as it's people they know and kids they had with their 15 wives. So
Say it with your chest. What you talking about?
can't
Now,
stand them
Quantum
niggas. I can smell the
does.
incense through the fucking screen.
You dirty. Quantum had a great question. And see, this is a conundrum, Quantum. This is where my powers of rationality break down, because if something's wrong, if you give it attention, it gets bolstered. I mean, because we had the same problem with the internet. If we keep showing the negative stuff, that's what we're showing. That's what people are seeing. They're seeing, like, oh, look at Sexy Red, but we're showing people Sexy Red. So we're actually giving it more traction and actually exposing it to people that didn't know about Sexy Red before that now might. So if we really don't want it, showing it is a problematic. It's counterproductive a lot of times. But there has to be some attention brought to it, because people need to know what to avoid and to hold it accountable. Like somebody that does have the power to some level of enforcement, because people do get like channels shut down. Channels have been struck down and this stuff. So I mean, so This is the fine line that I really don't have the answer to, because you have to have enough awareness to fix a problem, but you don't want to have enough awareness that you turn the problem into a monster. So I really don't know where that line is. Maybe it is about the way that you give it attention. I really can't say.
Yeah.
But don't
I think it's
sensationalize it.
yeah, because sensationalizing it is problematic just because everybody doesn't have the same model of right and wrong. So once again, it's kind of like, who's to say Sexy Red is wrong? Like, we were just using her as an example. Who says
Right.
she's wrong? So you exposing and saying she wrong, but let's say out of the 1,000 people who see you say she wrong, they don't even have the same system you got. So they don't feel like she wrong. Your argument's a moot. Sexy Red gonna go to hell. I don't believe in hell. Welp. Welp.
Yeah.
Well, I like this Sexy Red lady though. She pissed
And
me
then some
Christians
people
off.
like ratchet. Some people like
they
ratchet music. Some people like to see it. They feel empowered by
Right.
it. And
I think it's a very, like, once again, egotistical, and speaking of egoism, way to assume that you are the definer of right and wrong in the first place. If you haven't even built the structure in which what you're saying is in is even relative. Like, you just turned the thing on and said, oh, Sexy Red is bad. Okay, so what church you got? What youth group you lead in? Like, what are you, betterment of women? Like, how many people are you leading? Like, what's the point?
Yeah.
Like, in what system is this a problem? And where is that system that makes your authoritative stance the one we should listen to? Because most people don't have nothing. So, and why you ain't talking to them? Because they the only one who would believe you anyway.
That's where we go back to this. The strong do what they can and the weak suffer what they must. Because a lot of us that be complaining about it just be suffering it.
Yeah,
ain't none of us gonna get. We ain't gonna get Sexy Red removed from nothing.
Can't
like,
get it anyway.
Like, personally, I don't even, for whatever reason, like, I don't have as much of a problem with Ratchet until, like, I saw Sukiana and the kids get involved. And once you get the kids involved, and I'm like corrupt the minors type stuff, that really bothers me. So, and I know Sexy Red will hang with Sukiana, so like Sukiana's like an off limit type person for me. Like, that's an art. That's I don't like that.
Yeah.
But for grown-ups around Ratchet stuff, but I know, like we talking about deeper and superficial, there's a lot of superficial people like, oh, I enjoyed it, but they'll enjoy it around their kids. Like we've seen enough videos of people listening to the music. This stuff does have influence. Music does have influence, no matter what anybody wants to say. I know you did a quantitative study or qualitative one. Qualitative study.
Right.
In your time about the effects of music on a certain segment of society.
Yeah.
But the sexual promiscuity of Black women, was that it?
It was the sexual risk behaviors of adolescent Black teenage African American teenage girls. Yeah.
So listening to certain types of music does have influential factors in people. Not everybody has the same level of susceptibility to every form of media, but we know it has an impact. So people are going to listen to it because they enjoy it, and they're going to enjoy what they like around their kids. Whether it's music, whether it's movies, some people even whether it's drugs. That we just know that to be true. So I know some people don't want it around because they know everybody's not responsible. Like gun ownership, people will leave their guns around. We keep seeing kids get shot, or kids take the gun to school. A teacher just got shot. So we know children don't have the same sensibilities we do. And we know not all adults have the same sensibilities that some of us more responsible people do. So I understand why some people are like, no, we got to shut the valve off completely. We got to get rid of it. I understand that. But as a form of entertainment, the Ratchet doesn't bother me. That's where I'm starting at anyway. Ratchet doesn't bother me until the kids get involved, but I understand the level of influence that it has on people. And there is if that's what everybody sees, that's what people are going to kind of navigate towards.
Right.
If that's what people think is the culture, that's what's popular, people are going to gravitate towards that. Even if they don't believe in it or like from that culture, they're going to like want to emulate it because it's popular or because it's getting money. So we kind of then incentivize it, as opposed to it being like a neutral, this is what I like. It becomes a thing that people gravitate towards it. So I get why
Yeah.
people are
But
responding
I,
the way they do.
and that's what I'm saying. It's like the whole. It's like, well, Sexy Red isn't bad because hypersexuality is the currency.
Yeah, that's
So
capitalism.
once again,
That's what's being
here we
sold.
are
Right.
again, right? Like, why?
Yeah.
Nope. Sorry, wrong system. We over here at Bank of America, where hypersexuality is great.
Sex sales, yeah.
Yeah. So
Sex, drugs, and I can't remember what the lady said. Sex, drugs, and whatever.
yeah.
You're
So
right.
I mean, yeah, she's great. Like,
So
she's
then-
great.
So then that's the question then. So if people have different values than what America wants, but we
Yeah.
live in America.
Why are you still getting pissed off? That's my whole thing. Like, it's just, you got to realize when you're not the norm. Like, it was how when I talked about when I found out that, let's say, the designation, there's like neurodivergence, and then there's like gifted kids, and it's actually filed under almost like a neurodivergent now. Like, if you're given tests and they're like, oh, you're gifted, it's like ADHD, ASD gifted, or like it's some name for it, then you're just like, okay, I'm not normal here. Right? It's just like the lady online who catfished the man on TikTok. It's useful to know you're not normal. You're not, you're functioning on a different system than the other people you're looking at, because then you don't go on TikTok and say men are evil. Or like make these crazy statements or like get riled up about it. You know what I mean? Like, why would I get riled up? Why I can't say, why are we perpetuating Sexy Red? I mean, why wouldn't we? First of all, why wouldn't we? Who is we? And like, yeah, I'm gonna start asking people, who is we? I'm gonna have to start like working back, because I'm like, who is we? The Black community? Okay, so in what system, in what cultural aspect of the Black community would Sexy Red be wrong? Hood culture? Because according to hood culture, she is.
That's where we at.
What you would expect, right?
Yeah.
A hood rat is a citizen of the hood, I guess. So I mean, how do we get to she's wrong? Because I know they ain't gonna say Christianity, because I thought we left that the high. So where
a lot of us are still pulling from it though.
Yeah. That's why I don't even do it, because then we're gonna have to have an argument. Because I'm just like, is it sound real? Sound like something like Christian? Sounded something like Gutter Snipes. Yeah, she Gutter Snipe. But I'm just saying, it be sounding real Christian. Like, for the most, we don't fuck with Christian no more. I'm like, giving Jesus. I don't know.
I mean, you're right.
It's
you're
giving
right.
church. It's giving church.
A part I had taken out of my notes, but that's where Socrates was going to come in, because if you're weak, you don't have the force of power. If what you want, if what you feel is right, if what your moral, whatever it is, you can't enforce it because you don't have any power. So what Socrates did was discourse. You have to be persuasive. You have to win people over so that power actually does what you want it to do. Like Karen's. You have to be able to persuade power to actually move in your behest. Like, that's the thing that you have to do.
Because Karen's gonna fall out and scream. They gonna be aggressive and then fall out. So do you accept that you're not the norm? Is that being weak because you're not standing? Yeah, I mean, if you're not the norm, you are in a weak position. The numbers ain't with you. So yes, inherently not going with the grain is a weak position. But you can do things to, now you don't have to be strong in every position, right? Like, if I'm going against the majority, if we not talking about voting where you would want to change that, like you would want to change it. If we talking about a Democratic vote, yeah, you gonna want the numbers on your side, so you would want to change that. Like, you know, there's instances where if you're not with the majority, you may want to get the majority on your side because there's some benefit to that. But if you're deciding to go against the grain, you're gonna be in a weak position. Your position is weak. But that's okay. Like, you can find solace in that still. Like, you could find a community where you, even in your overarching weak position, you still within your community that you find of like minds maybe are in a weak position. So there's also realms in which you can't be strong in every realm. So I mean, is it weak if what you think what they're doing is wrong? No, it's not. I mean, strength in your opinion is moot. To me, I don't know. But if it's like, if what you think is wrong only matters in a structure where someone agrees that what you think is wrong, I guess. So if you just think Sexy Red is wrong by yourself, then I mean, okay, that's just really an opinion. That's not really a power dynamic.
I get you. Man, I know I took a whole bunch of stuff out of my notes and I'm still behind, so I'm skipping a whole bunch of stuff right now. I'm getting ready to wrap up. Just to conclude it. So again, I have a whole bunch more notes. And I'm like, it's been 3 hours.
We're gonna have to do like a part 2 or something. You shouldn't abandon the pursuit of power. Just pick good realms to pursue it in.
Of power. Are you talking about in the chat?
Yeah, he just said. I was just like, no, there's some realms in which you absolutely probably want to feel empowered.
Yeah. There are places where you do want to pursue power. I mean, because I'm even sure you upgraded your Wi-Fi so that you've been able to get up on more panels. That was you pursuing more power to be available. So there are realms of power. Like, that's one of the things I took out of my notes. There are realms of power. Like, you have your personal power. You have like a strong opinion or a weak opinion. Like, maybe because it's bolstered by fact or information or experience, that might be stronger or it might be weaker. Or again, your position, your personal power, your confidence, your how much you can get done, how much you can accomplish. Your personal power changes. And in different domains of your life, you might be financially strong and mentally weak, or sexually weak and physically strong. There could be any number of things. Everybody's both has weak and strong within them. Then there's your place in society. There's some people that you're going to have a strong position with. You have more leverage or just a stronger connection. Then there's other people that you have a weak relationship with. Then there's like the greater society at large, like being able to do stuff civically. You have one vote, but maybe they've redistricted you. So your one vote means less, like it's inflated. Your one vote means less because they lumped all the black people together or they lumped all the Democrats together. You know what I'm saying? So power is relative to the zone of life that you're talking about. People seek control and lack self-power. Yeah. All you can control is your own actions and how you perceive the chaos around you. But that's why if you seek power, you start to control what other people are able to do with their actions.
Right. Yeah, you can have control over more than just yourself.
Other people. That's why Diddy's in trouble.
You can have control. Right. Yeah. That's
why Diddy's in trouble.
That's why you're in trouble right now.
That's why Socrates got put to death, because other people can't have control that they get if you amass enough power, you can have power over others.
Yeah.
But if you don't control yourself
first, order of power. Yeah.
Quantum, it's going to be hard to control other people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you don't try to. I'm just saying that's a thing that people need to understand, because we don't look at. We'll say, like, again, we were talking about depth versus superficiality, and somebody will say all you can control is your own actions on a superficial level. That's untrue. I say on a superficial level, I get what you're saying, but on a depth level, we wouldn't be talking about government systems if all you can control is yourself.
Right. You're a proud submissive. I like it. Get into it, yeah. I'm saying. He said, I gave up power, all the realms, baby.
Yeah, I ain't fighting for power.
Full sub. Let's go.
Yeah. He just wants to be entertained. And Greg, there is a power that you made the choice to try to not control the world in that way. That's a power position, because that's going against the norm. I am here to be entertained. So that's a personal power.
Once again, there's power in submitting, right?
Yeah.
It's not force or control. Like you may not directly control, you can't force nobody. Like is but that's what I'm saying. When you start talking about power dynamics, let's just say it's not power and weak, it's dominant and
Yeah.
submissive.
Yeah.
Even
And
within
Greg,
that, they both have some semblance of control or power, even still.
yes, everybody has some level of power. We're talking about Socrates, and none of us have met him. That's power and influence, Greg. Just because you have power doesn't mean you're not going to die.
Yeah, power
Just
doesn't
because
mean
Diddy has
absolute.
power,
We didn't say
the fact that
absolute power.
yeah, Diddy's been able to do what everybody is saying illegal for decades, allegedly. That's power.
Yeah,
So we have to, we
getting
that's
people to push past their own sexual boundaries for
that's
money
power.
is power.
Yeah. So that was like when I was talking about superficiality and depth, that's a superficial question. Well, if they had power, then why can't he not die? Why can't he be immortal if he's got power? No, that's superficial thinking. We got to think deeper than that. Like I said, I just got done saying there's power in different zones of your life. And just because he had like power to influence people, he obviously has a sexual weakness. He could not control himself, so that he exerted his power to satisfy his sexual needs. So that's a weakness. So no matter how much power he had, he was under the power of his libido. That overpowered his reason or his concern for morality or law. So I mean, there's power. Power is in different. That's what I'm saying. We need to start thinking about dynamics of power differently, because it's not very simple. They're in every decision we make. And you're subscribed to my channel. Anyway,
I didn't say you was a submissive in the bedroom, okay? And bottom, you can't bottom if you ain't fucking dudes. See what I'm saying? You said that. So you said I'm not a sub and I don't bottom ever. Did I say you fuck dudes? If you fucking a woman,
and see quantum. What power has he lost? Number one, he's still free. Number two, if he was trafficking anybody, he could probably still be doing it. I don't think they confiscated his jet. They just grounded it. He's still famous. He still has money.
He's lost a bit of power. He lost a little bit of some deals. He's probably lost a little bit of. He's lost some influence. He's lost literal companies, some deals. So
some people won't trust him.
Yeah,
but then again, somebody's going to be more curious, because again, there were serial killers that people have fan clubs with. Somebody's going to be wondering how he was able to get away with this, and I want to know what he's got going on. I want to see. That's power that I haven't seen or heard of. That kind of power. I'm curious about that now.
I would say think of it like a phone. Like you talking about power, like it's off on it, but it's a phone battery. Like maybe he's like down a couple percent, like he's down, he's down, but he still is Diddy. He still is somebody he could walk up to after all that, and because he's Diddy, they will do what he asks. Like, I mean, we know it don't take that level. He's up on a higher level, higher order. We know it don't even take all that. You got a pastor in a rinky-dink church down the street, coercing people into doing stuff because he the pastor. So it don't even take all that. I mean, it don't take the level that Diddy has gotten to influence people. He's beyond that. What he said, Greg?
Greg's a little sex worker.
If you were with a woman, then you wouldn't. Okay,
right.
You just be the submissive to the woman.
He's doing like what DJ Doe said. Nobody wants to admit to being weak. Like submissive has a negative thing in his mind. He just fighting.
You just be the submissive to the more dominant
because he
woman.
always talks about do whatever the woman wants to do whatever to please her. And now he's like, I'm not submissive. I will never stop.
Unless you consider yourself a pleasure dom. But I'm just saying it's okay. There are male submissives. Why y'all?
It's all right, man. We clinched up about being weak or submissive. Those words are it's all good, man. It's all good.
Right.
It's all right. Nobody's gonna die today.
Right. Nobody give you booty today.
Yeah, not today.
Okay.
Don't do everything a woman wants. Do not. Well, no, I said that like a hyperbole. You guys are taking me out of context.
We not.
Greg, your entire being is out of context.
It's a bird by you. And it needs to die. That's all. That bird
that a
been
prophecy?
yapping this whole time.
Oh, by me?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you was having some kind of spiritual
No, it's
prophecy
a
moment from
bird
Greg.
outside your
Man,
house
I
somewhere.
got the window open. It's nature.
It's this one bird. It's the same
Live
bird.
with it. Deal with it.
I'm finna come find it. Where y'all
Nah.
at? Tell that bird to shut the hell up.
It's just a bird, man. Live with it. Let a bird be. Let a bird go.
So how
He
you
is
going
out there
for
living. He is out there living. That bird out there living. That's
Look.
hilarious.
I'm sorry.
People should do a maximum. But Bree, as we close this out, is there anything that you want to close down with? And I'm gonna give it a little quick rant and try to shorten it.
Oh Lord. No, this was great. I like talking about it, all the stuff and power dynamics, and I enjoy moving in and out of them myself. So yeah, I'm kind of more just see the world for what it is. I think that's a good starting point. I think people need to, your shoulds aren't my shoulds. And so people can just want people to stop getting outraged by stuff, see the forest from the trees.
Yeah.
And it's okay to be submissive. It's okay to be weak. It's okay to like to be dominated. Okay. See? He said that's about the length of his submission. He said, I like when she's snatching my pants off. Do you tell her to snatch your pants off, or you want her to just come ravish you? It's the difference. So yeah, I just think, it was a good conversation. We haven't had an ism show in a long ass time.
Yeah.
Don't
be trying to let her man handle you.
Nervous. He be getting nervous.
Let her man
Hold on
you.
now. Where you going with this?
Yeah. Y'all wrong.
He said, where you going with this? Oh, Lord.
What you doing? What you doing? No, not back. No.
Gosh, it is. But you can't be a sub to every dumb, So that's the lesson here, If you ain't trying to get all that sadistic stuff, don't be following behind no sadistic sub. He gonna fuck you up. That's what he like.
And that's a good way to look at it. Know what it's gonna cost you for the place that you're trying to play. Like whatever it is, friendship, a job, sex, relationships, church. What is it going to cost? Everything has a cost, and are you willing to pay it?
Yeah. Like, how you gonna follow a sadistic sub and then be like, he slapped me?
Yeah.
Well, girl.
Yeah.
That's kind of what they do.
Yeah. People need to be more cognizant of what it costs to deal with what they're trying to deal with. Everybody does not move at your whim. If you don't have power, everybody doesn't move at your whim. So you're gonna run across society with more power at some point.
Yeah.
And you can't clinch up when that happens. So it's better to know ahead of time.
Clinch up now.
Yeah.
He probably had to say, no, I'm not. Yeah, you done took the check now. You done took the 30 million.
You may as well make it
be in here being cute now. Come on now. No, you should have came in here prepared. Now you already knew what was up.
Yeah, because consent is important, Greg, of course.
Consent is important. Yeah.
Yeah, consent is important. We're just saying, as far as the person who is less powerful, you should not go into every arena. I don't play in the NFL, never have, and I don't practice, and I'm not in shape. I should not walk onto the football field thinking I'm not about to get killed. Like,
he said, I'm gonna die.
Yeah.
I'm gonna die.
Even if it's not because somebody tackled me just running up and down the field, I'm gonna die. And I should know that. I should have
you would hope
sense.
that you can change your mind and be able to get out safely. But depending on what you're dealing with, you might fuck around and find out.
Yes, FAFO for sure. FAFO.
And a lot of that's something women learn or supposed to learn early, because you want to go over there at 2 a.m. You better hope that if you change your mind, he lets you leave. I'm not saying it's right, but you've entered a certain power dynamic.
A crime is still a crime. Yeah, once you put yourself under
You've
somebody's
entered a
power.
certain power. It's like well, maybe you'll make it out. Hopefully he'll be a good person. Hopefully he won't want to break the law. Hopefully he will respect your boundaries. But you playing with a power dynamic there that if you're the weaker one, you are really putting yourself in a bad position. So that's just how it is.
That is how it is. Last question before we get out of here. In your life, and again, I'm not trying to play with the conversation that's been going on, like power. What role, position of power is something that you thoroughly enjoy. I'll go first to make sure we clear it out of the conversation of the Gregisms. We're not trying to go full 100% Greg.
I like to
But
be pegged.
I enjoy the power dynamic of a teacher. Like that's a power dynamic I enjoy, where you have like the attention of a group, kind of like this, like a classroom setting. You have the attention of a group of people, and you get to pass on information of some sort. I enjoy that kind of power dynamic. But what about you?
I like teaching too. Like I like being a nurse. That's the one my favorite part of being a nurse is the educating people part, and just like having that information and teaching them. And just the other aspect of nursing I like is just kind of like that I like kind of there's not a lot of realms in which I get to protect because I'm a tiny person, and
I can see that.
so I enjoy the protection, like the protection I can provide by having more information and interjecting if I see something wrong, like the power that, because people say do that, but in a lot of realms that doesn't actually work because there's no structure to actually make what you say matter. But in a kind of medical field, which a lot of nurses don't really take that power seriously or care for it, or maybe even know how much power they have. But I always enjoyed that power to like be able to check the doctor, to be able to check someone who's in a higher position than me. But because of the checks and balances, I can check them if they are exploiting the people in their care. So I like that. Yeah.
No, that's dope. Okay, I'm gonna ask you for a weird one, and I'm gonna give you my weird one first. Now, somebody's gonna look at me funny, but I don't even really care. I enjoy, like the last time I got my hair cut at the barbershop, it was actually a woman. But I enjoy the power dynamic even in a barbershop because as a big guy, I never get to feel small or normal. But no matter who it is, everybody can swivel me around. Like they just be swing me around this way, tilt me back, throw me around. So it's like it's so cool. I never get that dynamic. That's the only time I ever get that. So like, but what about you? What's it like a more silly or less
more like
serious
not
power dynamic?
Or I could just even say like just me not being in a more dominant position. But I think I like when I'm in power because I'm a tiny person and I'm a woman and I'm Black. So let's see, a silly one. I don't know if I have a silly one, but it's just, I think it's across the board the same ones. Like I'm good with animals, I think, for that reason. Okay. Like I got like I had a German Shepherd, like and I have a cat, and like I'm really good with animals because I think if I get a realm in which I can be actually in power, I'm not gonna abuse it. Like I'm not gonna hurt my animals, but I really enjoy those moments. And except with my kids, I fucking hate that shit. I hate it. Is that silly? Let's go the other way. I hate it. I hate the power dynamic I have with my kids.
Well, there we go. Let's do that. What's the power dynamic that you hate? So you said you hate the power dynamic.
I hate it.
Why do you hate that?
Cause I personally like to be a sub. Like I am like, even though I do have those realms in which like the ones in which I like being pushed into the dominant role, but I feel like it's like, who else is gonna do it? You know, it's like, okay, you're a nurse and it's labor and delivery. So I'm okay with stepping up in those spaces. So like, I never wanted to work in realms and where there was like male and females either. Cause I think naturally, even though I'm a very dominant personality, I still, if there are people who have got this position above me, they've earned it, they got it, they want it, I will submit to them. So it's hard for me, but I like in labor and delivery. But yeah, with my kids, it's like this annoyance with the automatic authoritarian place I just naturally have as their mother. And sometimes I'd be like, girl, I don't know. I just be guessing. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I don't feel authoritative.
Yeah.
Cause I really don't know what I'm doing. Like I just had you. And I know that's like a big deal. But like, girl, no, I don't know what y'all gonna eat. Like it's an annoyance with the influence that comes with being a mother of like, I'm in control of if you eat or not. That shit is gross.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I hate it. I absolutely hate it. I
my
want my kids.
Obligation, that automatic authority. I can see that.
I don't like it for them.
Yeah.
I don't like it for them. I'm very antsy for the day. I try to get my kids out of being that powerless as fast as possible. I don't know if that's good, but I'd be like, you need to know how to eat. You need to be able to call for help. You need to like, I don't like my kids being that helpless where like I decide if they live or die by feeding them.
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Nah, I like that. I was actually watching. I told you a while back I was watching something on Netflix, and they had their kid walking to the grocery store at 2. He was like 2 or 3 years old. They was super small, and they were able to walk to the store to get stuff. Like, I mean, it was super basic. It was like 3 things, and get the change. I don't think they really count the change. They had to count on the clerk, to be honest, and give them the change. But it was kind of cool to see that.
Now Quantum don't start now, because I like to be choked up now, because I got a little mouth on me now. You gonna choke me up? I like that. I gotta be put in my place sometimes. So, yeah.
See, a dynamic that I hate. What's a dynamic that I hate? I had one in my head, and then I forgot. Let me see. DJ Dose likes controlling the music wherever he goes. Quantum likes pretending to sit at the. She likes to pretend to be a submissive. She likes
she nasty. I'm about to say she pretending. She pretending. Quantum, what you like? Pleasure doms?
Mm-hmm.
She like pleasure doms. Ain't no way. I can't see you with nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Role playing. That's crazy.
Yeah, but she ain't.
Man, what's a dynamic I hate, man?
Being black in America. Go on, talk about it.
Actually, I actually like that because it's a weird position. Because see, what I would hate, honestly, would be the pressure of being white in this country. Because even though they don't know it, like, and not the way they think they are, because like right now, white people are having this victim stage, but they're not a victim for that reason. They're a victim for almost like being the model minority, but they're the majority. Like, so for being the defaults, there's a lot of pressure for being the default. Like, you have to maintain. If you're the standard, you have to uphold the standard.
Yeah, it's like my noise with the kids,
people,
how they look at me.
Yeah. So when white people fail, everybody sees it.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody sees when white people fail. Like Biden's weak. Everybody sees it, even if they're pretending they don't. So you can't be the moment you're slipping or you're stupid or you're average or you're dumb. White person, everybody knows it. But if you're an unseen minority, like people aren't paying attention to you anyway, you get to skate a lot of times. You have to be really egregious as a minority for everybody in the world to know what you did stupid.
That's true. That's why you like Diddy. Come on, bro.
Everybody
said, "Come on now,
you out there, you out front, player."
Okay, yeah, come on, bro. You got the why he takes calling you Sean Combs. Yeah, you out here fucking up. So I agree, but that's exactly how I feel with being the mom figure. It's like as soon as I let me not cook one day, woo, I'ma hear about it. Your daddy don't never cook.
Yeah.
Why y'all don't say nothing to him?
I kind of like being of service. I kind of like that enabling, coddling, taking care of. I like that energy. I like being in that.
Also, like playing in the energy that you don't necessarily. It's the same with me.
Like the same one you reject. I'd rather I would feel fulfilled knowing I had people that never had to worry about lifting their finger for certain things.
Oh, that's so
like
nice.
Where you're like, oh, you need to learn how to cook. Like for me, it's
get out my face.
If you would never have if I love you, if you never wanted to cook, you never have to learn. Like, I don't even know where the forks get put in the kitchen. I want that kind of. I want somebody, you know what I'm saying? That's how I want to spoil
like
people. Like that's just I'm super generous in a lot of weird ways, but that's something I would love for somebody to completely forget how appliances work. Like I would love to be able to do that. Like I don't know what to do.
That's so nice. Like this air fryer is just beyond me.
Yeah. Do I just press the plus 30? Do I just press the plus 30 on the microwave? How do I open the microwave? I would.
It's fucking annoying. Go be a mom. You identify as a mom.
The knob on the stove. The knob on the stove. What am I supposed to do with the knob on the stove?
You might need
to identify. Where's the fire come
from? That shit is annoying.
I love that.
Try it a little bit. It's annoying.
But now I'm trying to think of what I hate. Okay, that's what I was thinking. Okay, I hate being in a group. I hate being in a group where we're either all peers, like everybody's equal, so there's no clear leadership role. That I don't like that dynamic because often what happens is I have to step up because somebody's got to make a decision or ask a question or get the ball rolling. And most people in a shared or peer group where it's equal, most people don't know that somebody still has to, like, all the egalitarianism, everybody's equal, like that thing. I don't, even though I believe in socialism, I don't believe in 100% equal. I don't believe in equality or equity. I believe in social. Everybody should have something to be taken care of, but everybody should be taken care of equally. So because of that, it's like somebody's going to be a little bit higher in the pecking order, but nobody's going to get left behind. Like, that's my socialism. Nobody would get left behind or done dirty, but you're not equal. You know what I'm saying? So I hate that equal, like, because I hate group projects where nobody knows and nobody's asking, what are we going to do?
And see, I'll always step up to be a leader in that, and then I'll rule with the iron fist.
And that's what happens. And see, I get offended. I get offended that we're all supposed to be peers, but I have to take the lead role. And then because I'm offended, I have to suppress my negativity.
Oh, then you start getting that petty energy.
Yeah, then I get the petties. And the other one is if I'm in a group under a poor leader. If you're a poor leader, you're going to have a problem with me. Every poor leader I've been under is going to.
So you don't want to be the leader, but if somebody else the leader and they're a poor leader, I'm gonna give you grief.
I can't submit to a poor leader. I just can't.
But you don't want to be a leader.
I don't want to be the leader. I want to be in a system that's functional. And I would say I can even probably track that back to my childhood. We had a dysfunctional family, but I wasn't the leader of it. So I think I'm trying to just live out my childhood role. Like, you know, they say you're always trying to fix the thing from your childhood. I think I want to be in a functional family that I'm not the leader of. I have influence, I have a say, but it functions. And I always find myself like living out my family pattern. I find like groups of dysfunction to join, and it's the weirdest thing. My jobs, my jobs, my social circles, I would find groups where everybody's kind of on equal footing. And nobody would take the lead. Everybody would have these like random wants, or we should do this, but nobody would ever like start the planning process or anything like that. And I'm like,
but as a man, you're expected to be like the builder and the leader, and like you can't enter into the structure. You have to build it and stuff like that. So that's probably makes it a little more difficult because you want a dynamic that traditionally or the way we think most women aren't going to be able to give you.
Yeah.
So,
but even like again these days though, like even other guys, like again, like church, the pastor, poor leader.
Yeah.
Poorly. And it's hard to listen to poor leadership. Like it's hard, like it causes like a physiological response. Even if I'm not responsible to them or the group, like I'll just, for my mother's sake, I'll attend church like once a month.
Right.
But listen to the leadership because it's so poor there, it offends me. I don't even know why, because I'm not invested. I don't put money into it. I'm there 2 hours a month. Like 2 hours a month. But when I hear the poor leadership, because it always comes up, because he's a poor leader, that's his nature. His nature is poor leadership. So every time I'm there, I see poor leadership. And it offends me to the point where I want to say something. And I want to be disruptive. Like I really want to like blurt out something in the middle of service. Like, dude, what are you doing? Like, what's wrong with you? Like I want to heckle. Yeah, you can't. I want to call people to do better, but it's like I won't call people to do better if I won't invest it. I won't invest in your better. I won't call you to do better. I'll let you fail.
You got to be willing to. That's interesting. Yeah. So to some degree, do you think that's something that the people of gender sometimes do enjoy those dynamics that they're not just allowed to have by default?
Absolutely. Like I think like Greg said something earlier, and I know Odie says it differently. Odie always says, Professor Odie always says, you look for what you lack. And I know Greg was saying it earlier, like you like what you lack. I think what he was saying, but that's something that we have, like attachment styles. You kind of look for the thing that the hole that got opened up in your childhood. You kind of look for that. I think most people are not securely attached. Securely attached people can kind of expand and try out different things. Right. Because they're not really afraid and insecure about things that aren't going to harm them, and they're not thinking that everything's going to harm them. But I would say 75% of us are insecurely attached in some kind of way. Right. So we kind of live out those dynamics because we like the narcissist, and I'm gonna call it the egoist, like which is the opposite in the story, narcissist and echo. Like there's going to be the opposite. There's an energetic opposite to somebody who's actually narcissistic. Yeah. And that person, you're going to play that out. And the same thing was like a dominant and submissive. You're going to play that out.
Yeah.
Like we're going to play out these power dynamics if we don't understand what they are. Or like, why does this trigger me? Like, why does a certain thing trigger me?
Right.
It's
And
like,
some
okay,
people
for
say
me,
don't play the power dynamics game, but I'm like, I mean, you're an American.
you're
Good
always
luck.
doing it. You're
Yeah, I'm
always
like,
playing
good
them.
luck.
Like, not
Good
even trying
luck.
to be like, okay, like even right here, me and you are sitting up here on the panel as equals. I could take you down, you can take me down. That's a shared power dynamic.
Yeah.
But the people in the chat have less power than we do. They can put
Right.
what they want in the chat, but we could remove it.
Yeah.
They can't remove what we say. Like, so there's always power dynamics in every single situation that we're in, even if we don't see them or acknowledge
Yeah.
them.
Right.
And
That's true.
YouTube could take us down. I've got more power than the chat, but YouTube has more power than me.
And I think the more we just get comfortable with the idea, it doesn't always have to lead to exploitation. I think it's just for like
That
most
doesn't.
Americans, power dynamics equal exploitation on the end of it for somebody.
Billy.
You know what I mean? So I think that's why people are very uncomfortable with it and that they engage it. I'm like, but every power dynamic doesn't have to be one of exploitation.
Yeah,
That's just one way that it can play out. It doesn't have to be exploitation.
Mm-hmm.
So you can willingly engage with it, and it's like what both people want, and both people are getting what they want. So I don't know. I think people just some people have a knee jerk like I don't like it because
because we don't
being
talk about it or
exploited.
understand it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. It's like, no, everybody's not being exploited. And that's why it's like feeling the need to say the sub has power. It's like, yeah, nobody said. Yeah, if you get a dominant together with the sub, like they both should be fulfilled because that's what they want. That's what they want to do and engage in together. So, yeah, why would it be an exploiting thing?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Well, all right, y'all. We've shown y'all quite a bit as far as the power dynamics and some of the different conversations that are ongoing in the world and on these YouTube streets, and we've kind of talked about it along the way, so I'm not going to do like a big long summation because I just found out my headphones are on 5%. So I am getting ready to head out of here. I don't know when me and Bree will be back, but we definitely will, man. I always love chopping it up with Bree. We do it all the time anyway. We just do it without y'all a lot of times.
Yeah.
So
Discord.
Yeah.
Gang, let's go.
Yeah, y'all suck. But anyway, I do appreciate y'all. Again, thank you for the cash app. It says self-love is a lie. To Greg Bryan, appreciate you. Shout out to the people that did ask us to do a nice little, chatty stream, something a little intellectual. So we did that. And I know Risa said thank you earlier. You're welcome, lady. And Nay, you're welcome. And Billy, good to see you. So hopefully y'all appreciated it. And we appreciated seeing y'all and having y'all here with us. And again, I will let y'all know next time we are back. You'll get a thumbnail. As far as Yella's beat bracket, we will be back on Friday doing wrestling theme. So that should be fun. That's Yella's topic. He loves wrestling. And I might even start like a little wrestling. I've been watching wrestling so tough, y'all. I want to talk about wrestling with people, but I don't have people to talk about it with because Yella's never around talking about it. No, he don't talk about it though. Like he doesn't just sit and talk about wrestling. He's always on the game.
Yeah,
so it's like I want to sit and talk about it, like with somebody that's actively talking about it. But he's like always doing something else.
Okay.
Dosukai.
He might. What? And if y'all watch anime, come over to my channel. I will be streaming Beastars starting this week. I usually watch anime every Saturday. And we are finished with Solo Leveling, so we're gonna be starting Beastars, which has a new season coming out. So if y'all want to watch something weird that's anime, then y'all can come watch it over on my Twitch. And then on Sundays, we are talking about anime, but we will be talking about Interview with the Vampire soon. So if you watch that, then make sure you follow me.
Yeah, I know most of the people here on Critically Drinking won't be into the wrestling. I think I'm probably gonna try to get with Chris Classic, man. See if he does wants to do a pod, but I know his working hours are different. I'm probably gonna start a whole new channel because I really don't want to tank this one, like throw wrestling in here with everything else we talk about. That'd be so weird. Okay, Dose, I have to hit you up then. I probably have to
you better invite Yellow because he gonna be mad.
I mean, of course, Yellow will be invited. I would extend the invitation to anybody that wanted to hear or talk about wrestling, but I think it would just be better on a separate channel. So yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but y'all, I appreciate y'all. Bree, you already know I appreciate the mess out of you. We are heading out of here, and I hope y'all have a good night, everybody. And Bree's channel, Kawaii Bree 123. She said the anime stuff. Anybody wants to come through, that's her channel. And then my so-called life will be live tonight. I saw him in the chat. Appreciate you. Wednesday night, Monday, Wednesday, Saturday. He'll be live tonight. West Coaster, so it'll be in probably in about 2 hours. So check out my so-called life if you like a nice little chill, hangout, chatty spot. Everybody there doesn't. So we just like to sit and chill. It's cool. I'll be popping through, but the hours, man. The hours is when I be like doing either clips or trying to watch stuff on my watch list. So But definitely appreciate my so-called life. He's cultivated a really cool crowd over there. A great little chill environment to sit and listen and chat and make jokes. So appreciate y'all. Oh, my so-called life. Oh, wait. I need a way to get in touch with you because I want to do a panel with you on it. I know you're an atheist. If you're willing, I want to have a conversation about faith and religion. And there's people, I'm having different groups of people. And I want to have you on the one with people who have like kind of either weren't ever in church or walked away from it. So let me know if you have like an email or something. Or I'll come into your stream tonight. I'll hit you up in your stream. You can let me know. And if your email is on your YouTube channel, I'll try to reach out to you there. But I need a way to contact you. But all the rest of y'all, appreciate y'all. I hope y'all have ain't going on.
So what is this ism?
Here's the answer to your problems. Dr. Utopia's sensational new discovery, Ism. Ism will cure any ailment of the body politic. It's terrific. It's tremendous. Once you swallow the contents of this bottle, you'll have the bountiful benefit of higher wages, shorter hours, and security. Enormous profits, no strikes. Remember, you're the big boss.
You know how long the ism been around?
Yeah.
The ism probably been around longer than the Illuminati. But we have different rituals. You know, it's always a ritual to a secret society that we live in. Ism is a secret society. It's a culture. It's a vernacular.
When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you expand your awareness of yourself. When you expand your emotional vocabulary, you understand how you can navigate in this bitch. This fucking weird-ass world that is so hard on y'all. Like, let's acknowledge that the world is very difficult for y'all, but y'all are not making it any easier, bruh. You're not. You might not like my fucking delivery, but motherfuckers is starting to talk, you know? Shaking the tables, I don't give a fuck.
Not a good day, okay? Now back to that one.
Oh my God, she's so hot.